All right, welcome to Modern Day Debates. Let's see if everything's working properly here. Give a second for the stream to catch up here. And I think everybody's streaming on their own platforms, so it took a little bit of extra time here to make sure that's set up. I think we got a little glitch. Basil problem always with the heat. Let's see. Okay. Streaming on their own platform. All right, audio's working. I think the video is just a little bit lagging, so let me change this real quick. Okay. That should clear it up here in just a second. Okay, you guys are streaming on your platforms, right?
I just clicked live.
So I'm not capable of doing it right now. So if we have another second, I could figure that out. If not, I understand.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. Take your time. I think I just clicked live.
If we have another second, I could figure.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. Checking y'all's audio real quick on the stream.
I just hear the audio like reflecting. Oh, good. Okay. Let me see.
Yep, I think we're good. I think my picture is in now. So it was
picking up. It picks up. It just doesn't pick up the audio from. So if you guys speak, let me see.
All right. You got your live going, or is it you're just not able to pick up your audio on it?
Yeah, so it picks up my it'll pick up my computer alerts, but it will not pick up my.
It appears as though my live is working.
Yeah, I went live
the audio. Yeah.
So
okay, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you guys want to do, it's up to you guys.
Brian,
I think everything's working on my end.
Could you turn your mic down just a little bit, Brian?
How's that? Is that a little better?
Yeah, just the chat saying it's coming in a little hot.
I was a little close to the mic. I think that's probably why. I think that's probably better.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear him all right, Dennis?
Yeah,
I can hear him perfect. It's just on my end, I get an audio output.
Guys in the live chat, we're going to get going here in a second. We're just trying to get all the audio and technical issues working so we all can go live here at the same time, which is ideal. Very slow news day today, by the way, guys. Not a lot going on.
Oh, hello.
I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, right. I think it speak. If you guys could speak, I think it's picking up you guys now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Now the only thing that's missing, I think it may be just my mic. That's the only thing, and I can.
I hear you loud and clear,
Brian.
Well, it's just on my own stream on my end. That's the only thing.
Okay.
Brian, everyone's saying your mic is way louder than everybody else's.
That's weird.
Hello, testing. Hello.
Okay. Hold on a second. I think there's a reason for that.
Hello.
You know why? Because I'm a complete idiot. And my mic was not plugged in.
Okay.
That was going through my laptop.
That makes
Sorry about that.
Sense.
Can you guys hear me now on my end?
Yeah.
Hello.
On my YouTube, they're saying they can't hear me. That's really strange. It says we can't hear Brian. Can you guys hear me now? On my YouTube page, can you guys hear me?
Hello.
That's
Okay.
really strange.
Yeah. Well, Brian, you could also, if you want, you can download this afterwards. If you just can't get it, no worries.
Yep. I don't know. That's really weird.
Testing, testing, testing. You guys can hear
Appreciate
me, right?
everybody's
Check,
patience.
check, check. Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, everyone's saying they can't hear me, which I don't
Testing.
really understand. Really strange.
Oh. Huh. Well, I was able to fix the issue with you guys, but now my mic won't go up. But I guess it is what it is on my end.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. It is what it is.
We'll get started in like
Hello.
2 minutes tops. Appreciate
Yeah,
the chat for being supportive and letting us know how you feel.
Hello. Oh, there we go.
You
That
got it,
fixed it.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Everybody on my YouTube, I'm hearing some people are saying they can hear me, some people are saying they
Wow.
can't. Can everybody in my YouTube right now tell me if you can hear me or not? That would be awesome.
I think I solved it on my end. So I think it should be good now.
Awesome. Okay. Brian, you just give me the heads up and we'll get started.
Yeah, I don't understand why. Check, check, 1, 2. Okay, I don't know why. Obviously, if they can't hear me, I'll just cut my. Okay, I've been told it's fine on YouTube. Okay, so if it's fine on YouTube, Will Knight on my YouTube channel, can you hear me on YouTube? That's the most important stream for me right now. So I think they're saying they can hear me. Yes. Okay. Let's do it. We'll go with what we got.
All right. Let me just turn it down just a little bit on my end too to see if that works. Zoom just kind of picks up everything. So, Brian, you said you use StreamYards. It doesn't give you a audio output meter.
Yeah, it does, and everything. Everything looks okay on my end. I don't know why some people are saying they couldn't hear me.
Okay.
But everything should be going good now, as far as I know. I'm checking on the YouTube stream.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and get started, and ideally the video catches up. Seems to be lagging between our connection between us three.
Well, then I'm going to go ahead and get started. And,
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. As long as you guys can hear the audio, I could always put it back up on YouTube.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know why my YouTube's not working, but we'll have to go with what we got here. So all good.
All right. Okay. Well, welcome to Modern Day Debates, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate your patience getting started. Not too late. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone we got DebateCon 8 coming up here in July on the 25th, and then we're going to, and the 26th. And we're going to be doing these early bird tickets still, probably like last week you can get it. It's going to sell out for sure. So come out, meet us. James is going to be there. I'm going to be there. A bunch of great debaters are going to be there. And without further ado, we're going to get into some opening statements. I believe Dennis is going to go first, and he's going to give a 5 to 10 minute opening. Pretty fluid. If you want to concede your time early, you're welcome to do so. And then we'll hit Brian's opening after, get into a 60-minute rebuttal, kind of open dialogue, and then we'll go into the Q&A. So whenever you're ready, Dennis, go for it.
All right. Well, so Trump was a better pick than Kamala Harris. So that's the topic we're talking about today. The reason why I believe that Trump was a far better pick than Kamala Harris is, well, there's several reasons, right? When you look at Kamala Harris's time as vice president, she was one of the most ineffective vice presidents, one of the most feckless leaders that we ever had in the history of this country. She was a so-called border czar and absolutely failed at that. And then during the presidential election, just basically tried to rewrite her record as the border czar. She was also, I mean, if you just look at her history within the Democrat Party itself, when she ran for president in 2020, she had absolutely no support from the party. She was the first candidate to drop out. They ended up calling an audible last minute when George Clooney ended up writing an op-ed and basically saying that Joe Biden was no longer a viable candidate. So the entire party decided to coalesce around her. Not very democratic of the Democrat Party to do that. She was, I don't think she was the first choice for most Democrats. I mean, it was a very interesting thing to witness play out in real time, because you would see on television up until the week before she was announced as she was, appointed as the nominee. You would turn on CNN or any mainstream media source, you would hear a lot of leftists and Democrat commentators, and all of them were in unison, basically saying that she wasn't going to be the nominee, that she wasn't going to take the nomination, that she was not going to be a good candidate if she did. And then all of a sudden, when she got nominated, everybody coalesced around her. But outside of her record as a border czar, she also had a very strange position when it comes to the conflict in Israel and Gaza. I'm sure we're going to get into some of that today. And she had her position often, kind of changed. It wasn't even a nuanced approach. She kind of tried to hold every position at once. The one consistent thing that she managed to do is she distanced herself from AIPAC. But outside of that, she was, I would say she's the perfect example of a corporate politician who stands for nothing and who will just move with the wind wherever it benefits her career. And you see that. You see that she is just absolutely awful when it comes to leadership. She will even hurt her own community when it benefits her. The truancy case in Oakland is by far one of the most egregious cases of bad leadership in the history of California. I would go as far to say the fact that she was enforcing truancy laws in Oakland, and she went as far as this young girl was in the hospital and she had her mother arrested. Absolutely insane. I think that itself disqualified her from leadership, from being in the upper echelons of our government. Right now, she's obviously taking every single major popular position. She's obviously disavowing the Trump's handle of the conflict in Iran. But again, we're going to get into that. I think that there's a lot to say that she would have had a much different approach if we look at her style of governance versus what Trump would have done. I think that Trump's statements during debates were truly prophetic as far as how she would have handled it. She is just a perfect example of weak Democrat progressive leadership. And I think, honestly, it's good for the Democrats long run that she is on the sidelines, because I've even seen recent studies and polling within the Democrat Party itself that they've acknowledged that somebody like that has no ability to win or govern in America. In fact, some internal Democrat polling is showing that they're leaning towards a white Christian male so that they can hope to win this next presidential election. So, I mean, all you have to look at to see how awful of a candidate and a leader she would have been for the country is to look at how Democrats see her, and that's the purest form of indictment. If your own party thinks that you're an awful leader and shouldn't be in leadership, then I think that says it for itself. And that's where I'm going to leave it for now.
Okay. You guys hear me all right? Okay. Well, okay.
Double check to see if turning down the bit rate will actually help here.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's kind of annoying. I appreciate the chat being so vocal. Give me 1 second, guys. And then we'll let Brian get into his, just so everybody can be heard properly. Encoder. Okay. This should help a little bit. Might
Okay.
still have a little bit of a lag for a second as it changes. Okay, change. Let's see if my hand movement is working. All right. I think that's a little better.
Okay. You just let me know.
I can hear the audio fine on my stream that I'm watching on my phone, and it should be good. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. So first of all, gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to do this. I love a good debate. Let's get right into it. If you notice, Dennis, this is about whether Kamala would have been a better candidate or Donald Trump. But if you notice, Dennis didn't give a lot of accolades to what Donald Trump is doing. I can tell you, first of all, let me just correct Dennis with respect. Kamala Harris wasn't the border czar. It was Mayorkas. And Kamala Harris in the job of the vice president is not policymaking. That's number one. Number two, right now, the situation that we have in Iran, 100% would not be happening if Kamala Harris was the president of the United States. Now, Kamala wasn't my first, second, or third pick. And in a perfect world, I wish Joe Biden stepped down sooner. But that's not what this debate is about. It's about whether Kamala would have been a better candidate. She wouldn't have stolen $175 billion from the American consumers. We wouldn't have these stupid tariffs. She wouldn't have tweeted out, the whole civilization will die tonight. On Easter Sunday, she wouldn't have talked to, said, quote, open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards. I can guarantee you that she wouldn't have rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin, lying and saying that she would have ended the war within 24 hours. She wouldn't have been a puppet for Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu. Apparently, Donald Trump does anything, everything that Benjamin Netanyahu tells him to do. We would not have been in this war. She didn't even want to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu. When you look at the economy and you look at where we're headed and where we're going when it comes to inflation, when Joe Biden left office, our unemployment rate was at 4.1%. Higher now. What's lower besides eggs and a few vegetables? Everything else is higher. Gas prices are through the roof. He wouldn't have given the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%. $100 billion Donald Trump gave. And it's why his approval numbers are in the toilet. It's why he's in the low 30s right now, polling at around 20% with independents. Kamala Harris wouldn't have been a perfect president, but she certainly would have had empathy for people. She certainly wouldn't have worn a baseball cap when our brave men and women are coming home in caskets. She wouldn't have embarrassed us on the world stage. People are laughing at us right now. And Taco Trump on Tuesday did it again today. And we can get into that. And I can give you guys examples of how he caved and how he doesn't want the statement out. And he's threatening CNN because Iran has declared victory today. But Donald Trump does not want you to know that. He wants to think that we have won. We're spending $2 billion a day on this war. Let me repeat, $2 billion a day. While Donald Trump has taken Medicaid away from 20 million people, Kamala wouldn't have taken Medicaid away from people that desperately need it, or food stamps, and Kamala would not have started another ill-advised and illegal war. I would have thought that Republicans would have learned from that, dating back to years ago with George W. Bush, when we were told there were weapons of mass destruction. This war is illegal. It should have never happened. But all of a sudden, when Republicans say, hey, let's go to war, all of a sudden we can print money. Have you guys received $5,000 Doge checks? I haven't. Have you guys received tariff checks? I haven't. None of this stuff would have been happening if Kamala Harris was president of the United States. Again, not my first, second, or third pick. I agree, Dennis. In a perfect world, I wish Joe Biden stepped down sooner. Yes, I do. But the bottom line is even MAGA Republicans right now many of them are upset with where this country is going right now. They're upset with Donald Trump's lack of leadership. And even people like Alex Jones, you've actually lost the Tucker Carlsons and the Alex Joneses and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and others that want to invoke the 25th Amendment. I can't imagine that any Democrats right now, a year and a half into Kamala's presidency, would have been calling for the 25th Amendment. This man is losing his mind. We're in another illegal war, printing money because apparently we have all the money right now, and our economy is in the shitter, for lack of a better term. So there's no doubt in my mind, as I land my plane here, that if Kamala had won, we wouldn't have been in a war in Iran. We wouldn't have lost these soldiers. We certainly wouldn't have bombed and killed 175 school children. Okay. The economy would have been headed in the correct direction as it was when Joe Biden left office. To me, it's clear as day. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, Brian, I appreciate that. It seems like your laptop is still connected as far as the mic goes. It was
Weird.
It was clipping out. I had to turn it all the way down on OBS on my side.
You know what? That's completely my fault. Hold on a second. I got it. Hold on a second here. I'm into the earbuds, which I don't want. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh,
that was my
so much clearer.
So sorry. That was my bad, guys. I had the earbuds that were the microphones as well, which we don't want. So that sounds better.
Yeah, that sounds 10 times better. Thank you so much. All
sorry
right.
about that, man. What a great monologue, and the audio didn't sound good.
Oh man, it was just sounded like you were yelling, which that seems on brand, brother.
I do that a lot. That's on brand.
Yeah. So okay, we're going to get into the 60-minute open dialogue. Dennis, could you check your mic one more time, since I was
mic check 1 2.
Really messing with the audio there during that. Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
Right.
You could definitely maybe turn up just a slight bit.
Turn up?
Just a little bit. And then
there we go.
Yeah, go ahead whenever you're ready. I'm going to start the clock now, and if you guys start kind of talking over each other too much, we're going to go ahead and stop it and cut it into 60-minute or 60-second back and forth, or 2 minutes, depending on what you guys want to do. Appreciate everybody in the chat for letting me know what's going on, and then get your super chats in for the Q&A and your tickets to DebateCon 8. All righty, go ahead, Dennis.
Well, I think it's obvious that the country would have been in a far worse position if Kamala Harris had actually been elected president. As a candidate, she was just genuinely awful. She spent more money than anybody else in the history of a presidential campaign, over $1 billion. She spent an exorbitant amount of money building a studio for herself, so she could be on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which ultimately just floundered. She couldn't even come to terms with having an unscripted interview with Joe Rogan. That's how terrified she is of going off of the regular talking points. You mentioned tariffs. It's interesting because Kamala Harris isn't necessarily against tariffs. She's against the tariffs in the sense of imposing our commercial negotiations on top of for better commercial negotiations. She's actually for tariffs when it comes to electric EV mandates, when it comes to these sorts of woke environmental policies that have crippled my state of California, that you can't even change your garage door without having to get 9 inspections on it. That's what Kamala Harris, that's what her vision for the whole country is. So yeah, it's funny you bring up all these points. You just had a whole bunch of word vomit for about 5 minutes where you just...
Are we not at war? Are we not at war with Iran?
At war.
Are we not?
I very much,
was that word
very
vomit?
much disavow the war. I don't think it's a good idea. I have called Trump
I don't think it
from
is
the
either.
beginning. I'm part of that coalition within the
Can I
Republican
ask you,
Party
Dennis?
that's
Dennis,
been
can I ask
vocally
you?
against it.
Can I ask you, Dennis, who was the guy who said he was going to be a war-free peace president and there was going to be no types of regime change? I'm sorry, who was the guy who said that?
Trust me, I'm equally critical of Trump, and this is the difference.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are.
This is the difference between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. We can actually be critical of our leaders You guys demonstrated during this last election that whoever you put up, whoever you anoint as leader of your party, whether through a Democratic primary or not, whether it's somebody appointed by an elite, you guys all get behind that person and you create this echo chamber where no criticism is allowed. I am
Okay,
critical.
so you don't.
So
You're wrong.
So is Massey.
You're-
So is Marjorie Taylor Greene. So are many other people in our coalition.
Well, first of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been critical because Donald Trump didn't endorse her. We're talking about 1 or 2% of elected officials that are Republicans, who, by the way, have an opportunity to stop this war, but they don't have the backbone to do it. I've been very critical of the Democrat Party. I was very critical of Joe Biden. He should have stepped down sooner. If you want to talk about word vomit, you just talked about some podcast that Kamala was in that she spent a lot of money for. But you don't talk about
you don't think that level of spending and mismanagement
Hold
of
on,
donor
let's
money
talk
is
about that.
representative of bad
Let's
governance?
Let's
of
talk
how
about
awful
that.
she would be with money and
Sure,
governance?
sure. But I'm not going to talk about some
So
podcast.
you agree to that?
What I'm going to hold on. I'm not going to talk about some podcast. I'm going to talk about the fact that when Donald Trump was president, he got us $8.2 trillion in debt. But you'll equally go after both sides, but you want to talk about some stupid podcast.
Well, let's talk about how inflation went out of control when Kamala Harris was
Real
vice
quick,
president.
Dennis,
Or
before we
when
talk
you
about that,
the borders are, but she was actually appointed. She had a special appointment from
Sure.
the president.
I'm happy.
from President
Dennis.
Biden to take care of the border.
Dennis,
And
could you turn your
about
mic up
20
just a
million
little
people
bit,
entered the
sir?
country during that period.
Dennis,
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
could you turn your mic up just a little bit?
A tad? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I'm happy to talk about what Dennis just said, and I'll start by saying this. Joe Biden didn't ask, or it wasn't his choice to get us into a global pandemic. He took that over. He also didn't ask Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. But you see, when Joe Biden is president of the United States, you guys forget about cause. Hold on. You guys forget about cause and effect. Just give me another 30 seconds here. Donald Trump decided to go to war in Iran, a very unpopular.
He didn't decide. That's
Yes,
number one. That's not even
Yes, he did.
not. Look, the most charitable take on this, the most charitable person who's seen everything play out wouldn't agree with you that he decided. Even
So whose
Marco
choice was it?
Rubio, Tom Cotton, Speaker
Yeah.
Johnson all said it was
Yeah,
a
very
preemptive
credible
strike
people.
because Israel
And where's the
was
evidence?
going to
Okay.
attack Iran, and we
Right, and
preemptively struck so
and-
that we protected American interests in the area.
Dennis, where's the evidence?
Guess who didn't
Where's
do
the
that when Russia invaded Ukraine? Guess who didn't do that?
First of all, hold on.
Biden.
Let's stick
Biden didn't
with
do that
Iran
'cause
for a
he's
moment.
weak, okay.
Okay.
Same thing with
Again,
Kamala. She wouldn't have done it. You know what
Okay.
her foreign policy is? You know what? You remember that interview where she's asked, "Oh, what would you do in this?" She's like, "Just don't." That's her foreign policy. She's like
again,
she's some middle school teacher.
again, that's not true. So basically, what you're saying, based with no evidence, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, nobody in the Trump administration has presented any evidence that Iran was an imminent threat to the United States of America. None, zero. But
Oh,
yet
I agree on that. I agree.
Okay.
Not only do I agree on that, but I also don't like the hypocritical stance of claiming that the bunker buster bombs had taken care of the job, and all of a sudden we have to go back in to finish out the job. So
then why are you
there's
saying
hypocrisy there?
you're
We
making
don't
my
have to,
argument? You're making my argument for me. Then it
No, I'm
was
not making
Donald
your
Trump's
argument
choice.
for you. I'm
Yes, you
not
are.
being partisan, and I'm recognizing the truth of the situation. This is the problem with Democrats and people. This is why you are sitting here and disingenuously arguing in favor of one of the worst leaders in the history of this country, Kamala Harris, because you guys are so partisan. You'll say, "No, I take criticism."
Okay,
and then
so hold
all of
on.
a sudden
We
you
gotta
just
back
fall
up.
in line,
Okay,
and you're
we gotta
defending the
back up.
person that the plurality of
let
the
me be
country.
clear.
She
Let me-
lost every swing
Okay.
state. Do you
So let me be
understand
clear.
how you're arguing a losing battle? Nobody thought she was good.
Yeah. So Dennis, let me just give me a minute here. First of all, Dennis doesn't know much about me, and that's okay. I'll fill him in on something. Dennis, I'm not even a Democrat. I lean to the left
Oh,
on
you're not?
social issues. I did not vote for Barack Obama. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. So it's not you guys. You got to stop saying that. I do lean to the left on social issues. Let me be very clear.
What
I
are you
would have voted for.
registered as?
I'm a registered independent. I would have voted
Okay.
for a ham sandwich under Donald Trump rather than Donald Trump. Do you want to know
Hey,
why?
here's a fun fact.
I'll tell you why. Well,
Here's the
let
fun
me just
fact
finish.
that'll add to your thing. I'm running for office in California as a Republican.
you were.
But I rejected the endorsement of my party, but I have received an endorsement from the American Independent Party. So
Okay, well, okay, good. So first of all, the reason why I'm saying Kamala would have been a better president, I never said Kamala was perfect or she would have been great. But here's something I will tell you. Kamala Harris is not a liable sexual abuser. She's not a 34 count felon. She's not involved in a billions and billions of dollar crypto scheme
No,
scandal.
she's even worse.
Okay?
She's the kind of person that will
No,
arrest
she's
a
not.
mother
Hold on. Okay.
who's
No,
taking
that's
care of a
insane.
child
You got to let me
for
finish.
having cancer.
Dennis.
Okay?
Okay.
That's the
So
kind
Dennis,
of for truancy.
Dennis, if you really want
It's even
to,
worse.
yeah, Dennis, if you really want to compare the moral equivalency of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who, by the way, is in the Epstein files more times than Jesus' name is in the Bible, I'm happy to have that
we can debate
conversation
that.
with
That's
you.
actually a
Yeah.
complete
Okay.
straw man.
Okay, you voted for a guy who is a liable sexual abuser. You voted for a guy whose own ex-wife said that he raped her. You voted for a guy who is a scam artist, whether it's Trump University. I can go down the list of the discrimination lawsuits that he had to pay out over time. You voted for the guy
says how bad Kamala Harris is.
You voted for
the me.
No,
By
I'll
the way,
tell you what
not
it
just
says.
me.
No, I'll tell you what it
71
says.
million Americans voted.
I'll tell you what it says.
72 million
No,
Americans voted for him.
I'll tell you what it says.
The
It shows how
majority of Americans,
No.
every swing state.
not true.
That's
Well,
how
first of
bad
all-
Kamala Harris
No.
was. That's how awful she was. I can't.
Sorry about that. It also exposes how ignorant and ill-informed so many people in this country are. And by the way,
You're saying
49
half the country is ignorant?
49
Really?
hold on.
Why
Let me
would
finish.
you ever say
Let me
that?
finish. Let me finish.
That is-
First of all,
that's actually disgusting.
everything, Dennis,
That's
everything you
disgusting that
say,
you would call
Dennis,
half the country ignorant.
Dennis, you got to let Dennis. You
Okay,
got to let
I'm
me
sorry.
finish,
I
Dennis.
apologize.
You got to
Let's
let me
go.
finish. First of all, half the country didn't vote for Donald Trump. For the people that voted,
More than half the
49
country, yes.
dude, you got to let me talk for more than 10 seconds, man. It's
Go
like
ahead.
every 5 or 10 seconds.
All right.
I
got you.
I don't think we have to do this. I've done plenty of debates like this. I don't think we need to do that. You got to let me finish.
I'll let you
49
finish. Go ahead.
Thank you. 49% of the people who voted for Donald Trump, okay? And if we're going to go to half the country, right now he's in the low 30s and a lot of people regret their vote, okay? So don't give me the nonsense that, if there's one thing that Donald Trump exposed, it's how many stupid people there are in this country. And we wouldn't be in this war right now if so many people didn't vote. Now, a lot of people didn't vote for Kamala because she was a woman. I think a lot of people were not ready for that, unfortunately, and it's very, very sad. But the fact of the matter is, if it's between Trump and Kamala, Kamala's not on the Epstein files thousands of times. Kamala doesn't have 25 people that have accused her of rape or sexual assault. She's not a liable sexual abuser. Last I checked, she hasn't made billions and billions of dollars in a swindling crypto scandal. So if you want to compare the moral equivalency between Kamala Harris, who, by the way, is a pretty good mother and a pretty good wife and a decent human being. If you want to talk about policy, I'm happy to go into that with you. But please don't try to conflate the morals who Donald Trump, who said, I don't respect John McCain because he was captured, who dodged the military multiple times. You're going to lose that argument, dude. You're going to lose that argument.
Well, I think it's ironic that you bring up the Epstein files, considering that Democrats had the ability to release it and refuse to
Not
do
true.
it. And they had to come up to the guy who's apparently
Not true.
up in it as many times as you say he is to do it. And by the way, it's a complete straw man to actually even mention it like that. I thought you would have learned from trying to say this to Kai. Kai Schwemmer completely owned you on that one. He demonstrated the length of, first off, the length of the Bible versus the 3 million pages of Epstein files. Next, the majority of the mentions of Trump, it's mostly Epstein trying to figure out how to take Trump down. Epstein hated Trump, and it's been well documented. Now, obviously, I'm not sitting here trying to litigate every single thing Trump has done. He's a morally flawed person. But that's not why myself and the vast majority of Americans in every swing state voted for Trump. It's because the entire country recognized that we needed leadership. And Kamala Harris just wasn't the person to do it. And obviously, there's an argument to be made about when he came into office versus where he is at now. I obviously, there are a lot of decisions of his, especially as of late, especially getting involved in the Iran war, that I personally do not agree with. Even the rollout of the Epstein files, I thought that was a disaster. Pam Bondi completely flubbed that one.
Why did she do that? Why do you think she flubbed it? Who was she protecting, Dennis?
We can sit here and speculate all day. It's flubbed. I'm grateful she's been fired. I don't know, dude. I don't know why she.
You don't know? Let me ask you a question. By the way, you mentioned Epstein. Let's talk about that. So I don't know if you're aware of this.
No. Answer your own question. Why did she flub it? Because you asked a question, you didn't answer
Sure.
it, you pivoted to something else.
Sure. The
You
reason
want to
why
speculate? Go ahead and
sure,
speculate.
it's not speculation. When Kash Patel was asked under oath 8 times, did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? 8 times he refused to answer the question. Do you want to know why? Because they all knew he was all over the Epstein files. It's why millions of files have still not been released. It's why so many files have been redacted that we know have Donald Trump's name in it. And going back to Ghislaine Maxwell,
And that's absolutely
since
disgraceful. It really is.
thank you. I'm glad we agree
Yeah.
on that. Let's talk about Ghislaine. Yeah.
You need me to go up more? I'm
He's
almost
loud enough.
maxed out here, so you guys let me know if you need me to go up more.
You're being it's George Soros. They're silencing you. It's George Soros.
They're
You're being
silencing
censored.
me. Oh no.
So Ghislaine Maxwell, let's talk about her for a moment because you
Yes.
mentioned the Joe Biden administration. Are you aware that Maxwell was not only under investigation during the Biden administration, but those files were sealed up during the trial and after the trial when in fact she was appealing? Now listen, if there's any president that could have released the files and didn't, I think that's wrong. But I can tell you one thing, somebody who's not in those files, since we're talking about Kamala Harris, she's not in the Epstein files and she wasn't partying with Jeffrey Epstein and she wasn't Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. That's the bottom line here. So here's what we have. We have a war that we both agree on shouldn't be happening. And I'm glad we agree on that. We have a situation where so many MAGA supporters were almost excited, maybe there's a better word to describe it, of these binders and these morons that were outside in DC with these binders. Phase 1, phase 2 never came. We were told that Donald Trump only hires the best people. Kristi Noem was an absolute disaster. Pam Bondi was an absolute disaster.
Look, here's the thing. We can agree on a lot of these things. I think that you'll find that there are a lot of people in the MAGA movement that are very unhappy with the direction that Trump is taking. Kristi Noem was an absolute disaster. Look, the fact that she spent $1 million on a single photo shoot, and it was mostly advertisements. I mean, I was just at the airport the other day flying back from Dallas, and I saw the ads. It's almost like a joke. Like, look, Republicans are on the same side as you on this. We want an effective country. We want an effective executive.
And you think
and look,
and you think Mark Wayne Mullen?
I do hope the Democrats take some level of accountability for their sanctuary laws, which is something that Kamala Harris supported, which is, you allow 20-something million people into the country in just a couple of years, and then all of a sudden you do everything you can to obstruct the, illegal immigration enforcement inside the country. You go as far as Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, Mayor Frey out in Minnesota, and you're refusing to cooperate with the federal government, which is ultimately what the goal of sanctuary laws are. And that's something that Kamala Harris supported. So if she had actually been president, we would have seen it go from 20 million illegal aliens over just a few years to possibly even more. Who knows how many would have entered the country by now? And
I'm happy to talk to you about that.
Our social safety net, everything about the country would have just completely collapsed.
I'm happy to talk to you about that. First of all, if Kamala Harris was president, Renee Good and Alex Preddy would still be alive today. That's number one. Number two, per capita in this country, you have the better chance of being the victim of a crime from an American citizen than you do an undocumented immigrant. Number three, people's
no, that's false.
No, that's not false. You could look that up. First, third, and fourth amendment. First, third, and fourth amendment rights being taken away from American citizens. It's why Bovino just retired. It's why they had to go in there and call off the troops, for lack of a better term. People were being barged into their homes without a warrant. It has been seen on video. So this is the immigration issue is an issue that we've had in this country for a very, very long time. But I'll tell you one thing.
And it's been exacerbated by people like Kamala.
Okay, well, I would also bring up George W. Bush, and I go back to the vice presidency again because you keep failing to understand the basics of this, which is the vice president is not a policymaker. If you want to blame Joe Biden and say
so this is what you're ignoring. Yes, the vice president is not a policymaker. They're the tie-breaking vote on the Senate. But they can have special appointments from the president, which is something you're refusing to acknowledge. This is on the record. She received a special appointment by President Biden to oversee the border. We had an insanely out of control border crisis. I'm sure you remember this when Greg Abbott tried to shut down the Texas border and Joe Biden sent in the trucks to open up the border again. Okay. he had Kamala Harris as one of the people on a special appointment taking care of the border. So to ignore that is to almost, it makes your point null. So
I disagree with you. First of all, I'll mention again, Mayorkas was the borders are number one. Number two, I've criticized the
he
Biden
was ahead of
administration.
DHS.
I don't think they did a good job at immigration enforcement and the border. But I would also say Donald Trump has done just as bad a job at enforcing it. You have ICE agents who have 47 days of training. What happened in Minneapolis is a travesty. You have a bunch of people that are unqualified, that are not prepared for the job, and it's why Bavino has just retired. He retired as a disgrace. So we can talk about ICE and we can talk about the lack of or the job that they have done. And then after Renee Good is shot and, in my opinion, murdered, there's no full-on investigation. And Jonathan Ross is now a millionaire because a bunch of right-wing MAGA buffoons sent him a bunch of money with no full investigation into what happened. And the Alex Preddy shooting, absolutely unjustified as well. Listen, I want, just like most people in this country want, if you're a violent criminal or even a felon and you're undocumented, I believe you should be deported. But there are people in this country 10, 20, 30, 40 years that have families here, and there has to be an easier pathway to citizenship. There's one party that makes it more difficult, and that's the Republican Party. People 10, 15 years to become legalized citizens. Guess what? That needs to change. And I always hear from Republicans, we want you coming in this country. We just want you to come in the right way. Okay, then why don't you make it a little bit easier? I want everybody to be vetted. I have no problem with that. But it shouldn't take 10 or 15 years for people to become naturalized citizens. Oh, yeah, by the way, I would assume, Dennis, you care about our Constitution. Then why don't you call out the Trump administration for breaking the law and deporting people that are from Mexico, that are filing the correct paperwork, that are seeking asylum? And the Trump administration, they're literally deporting those people. It's against the law.
Here's the thing.
Call that out.
I think it's, you're talking about the Republican Party being, you're ignoring the history of this country. I mean, I don't agree with this, but
Founded on immigrants,
Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty. Millions of people were immediately, fast forwarded. So you're just being either completely
talking about right now.
History.
I'm talking about right now.
Let me finish my point. The best Democrats could ever do was DACA, which was just a temporary Band-Aid, which still hasn't really solved the situation for the folks that are in that gray zone area. So, I mean, it's just historically, your point is just ignorant. Outside of that, I think it's important to look at something. You were talking about policy. Let's talk about policy that Kamala Harris supported. You still haven't answered for this. Part of the reason why Renee Good, why Alex Preddy are no longer with us, why we saw immigration enforcement play out in the streets in the manner in which it did is because of sanctuary policies. Because sanctuary policies allow for a breakdown. Is this news to you? Sanctuary policies allow. So let me explain something to you, since this is news to you. Before sanctuary policies, and this is a discussion that played out at length here in California before it became statewide policy. Before sanctuary policies, when somebody was arrested, the police department that was arresting them would look at their immigration status and would call ICE in case there was some question about their immigration status, and ICE would make a determination whether or not to deport that person. All of this happened behind the scenes inside a jail without playing out on the streets. In fact, one of the main concerns when this law was passed here in California many years ago was that this would break down that cooperation and would cause immigration enforcement, interior removals to play out on the street as they're playing out now and have played out over the past
Yeah, so
year.
I disagree.
So
Dennis, I disagree.
Kamala Harris supports sanctuary policies. You still haven't answered to that. That breaks down the cooperation
hold on a
between
second.
the state, the county, and the federal government. I think it's
You
time
just-
for you to take accountability for that.
Yeah, you just said something that is completely not factually accurate. The reason why Renee Good was shot and killed had nothing to do with sanctuary policies and had everything to do with officers who are not properly trained to be in
That's
those
a straw
situations.
man.
Hold on.
Absolutely
No, it's not a
straw
straw man. It's direct
It is a straw
evidence.
man because it's not
No,
what
it's
I'm
not.
arguing.
Let me finish.
I'm saying if the policy wasn't in place, it wouldn't be playing out in the streets.
You're the one who just said, quote, the reason why Preddy and Good were killed is because of sanctuary policies. The reason why Alex Preddy was killed is because you had a bunch of goons wearing masks that were 1,500 miles, Border Patrol agents, by the way, that were 1,500 miles from the border, acting like thugs And then you
Interior
had
moves are a
members,
thing.
and then you had
Straw man.
Christie. Again, you keep saying straw man, but you don't want to actually address why they were killed. And then you have a bunch of
The
goons
policy.
wearing.
I'm
You have
talking
a
about the policy. You're refusing
okay.
to
Well, then you
acknowledge
should.
the effect the
Then you
policy
should
had.
not. Then you should not have brought up both of their names. The reason why they were killed is because you have a
What are
bunch
you
of
talking
goons
about?
wearing.
The policy.
Yeah.
If the policy,
No.
look,
Uh,
if sanctuary policies weren't in place, then this sort of interior removal wouldn't be playing out in the streets. Thus, you don't have activists blocking ICE. Thus, you don't have these violent situations play out.
Okay. So first of all, Alex Preddy was not blocking ICE. That's also not factually
No, in
accurate.
fact, he was obstructing justice. He
No,
was standing
no,
between.
absolutely
He
not.
pushed.
No,
He was standing between
no,
ICE agents and a woman. Then
not
he
true.
resisted arrest.
Okay, so first of all, that is 100% factually inaccurate for
I mean, we can play
everybody
the
that
video and
watched the
watch it.
video.
We can watch
Yeah.
it. You
Okay.
want to watch
First
it?
of all, what he
Play the
did
video.
was he was helping a woman get
video.
up, and the ICE officers approached him. And when you have 4 or 5 officers immediately pepper spray him at close length, which you're not trained to do, and then push him to the ground and start kicking and punching him, I don't really know what you mean by resisting arrest. Alex Preddy didn't deserve to be shot in the street. By the way, Alex
I agree.
Preddy
He did not deserve
legally
to be shot.
le-
I agree with
okay,
that.
well, guess what? Stephen Miller called him an assassin. Christy Noam called him a domestic terrorist. They did the same thing with Renee Good. It is despicable and it is disgusting. By the way, both of these people, no criminal record. At worst case scenario, maybe you could have cited Renee Good for a misdemeanor. This is by far brutality and, in my personal opinion, murder. Okay? Murder. Now, I would ask you a question, and I'm going to go back to January 6th now to see if you're consistent. Would you say that January 6th happens if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election?
In what sense it happened? What
Does it?
specifically? Your question is so broad and vague. So, you talking to me? Let me see. You want me to turn it up? I don't know if I have. Let's turn my audio down. Oh, here, I can just turn it up manually in here. Is that better? Okay, cool.
Okay, good. So that's okay. So my question to Dennis, and I'll explain why I'm asking in a moment, because we're talking about Kamala and Trump, who you obviously voted for 3 times, Dennis. Does January 6th?
So hold on.
You didn't?
I was a registered independent
Okay.
before that too. So I was on the same boat as you. Okay.
No, you weren't.
First election around, even though and I'm clarifying this because you just made an assumption. First election around, I liked Trump. I didn't like his tone. I actually ended up voting third party at that point.
Okay.
2020, I couldn't vote for either one. I was pissed off with Trump over the
Fair
COVID
enough.
stuff, and Joe Biden just looked like a corpse. So I only voted for Trump in the last time around.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I did make an assertion, but hey, you assumed I'm a Democrat, so we're even now. Thank you for clearing that up.
We're even.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, I'm actually glad to hear that. So after the January 6th insurrection, you still voted for Trump. So my question to you is very simple. If Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election, does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
Well, first off, you got to tell me how he lied. What lie specifically was said?
Did Joe Biden win a free and fair election in 2020?
No, I believe that there are several issues that played out with the 2020 election.
Okay.
And there has been extensive investigation, specifically in Arizona.
Really?
What's that?
So hold on. I didn't ask you if there were issues. There's going to be issues in every election. I understand that.
You said a free and fair election. To me, if there are issues in an election, it's not a fair election.
Got you. So was there any evidence of widespread voter fraud that anybody has found that could have overturned the outcome of the 2020 election?
There are definitely questions with the voting machines, yes, and there are definitely questions with other.
I didn't ask you if there were questions. Let me repeat my question. Is there any proven evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the 2020
Some of this
election?
stuff is still playing out in court. It takes years for this.
What's
kind
playing
of
out
stuff
in
to play
court?
out. Huh?
What's playing out in court that about
The
widespread voter fraud?
investigation in Arizona, I know for a fact that just
Yeah.
in California alone,
Yeah.
we're investigating, and I'm actually part of a lawsuit with the Libertarian Party that we're actually suing the state over our mail-in ballot system because
Yeah.
of the mass amount of fraud that plays
If Trump
out.
won,
This is
if
actually
Trump,
actively playing out beyond 2020.
Trump-
2020
if
just
Trump-
raised a lot of
Dennis,
questions for a lot of people.
Dennis, if Trump won Arizona, does he win the election?
I don't remember specifically how
The
the
answer is
delegates
no.
played out,
No,
but
the answer is no. So let me ask the same question again. Even if he wins Arizona, which by the way has not been proven in a court of law,
Mhm.
is there evidence right now of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election? It's a very simple question that you're not answering.
well, I just explained it to you.
No, I'm giving you Arizona. By the way, that
You're
hasn't been
conceding
proven in a court of
Arizona.
law.
Okay. Well,
Which, by the way,
there is enough evidence of voter fraud in elections in general, okay, for there to be
There's-
questions about every election.
Dennis,
From
the earth is
2020
not.
is just one example. It was just the
Dennis,
one at
Dennis,
scale that we saw it play out
Dennis,
at a huge scale. I mean,
Dennis,
there,
the earth-
like I said, there are lawsuits right
All
now
right.
in California over
Okay,
mail-in
Dennis,
ballot. There was just a case a few months ago of a woman who registered her golden retriever, and her golden retriever voted twice.
Yes. Yeah, right. Okay, so Dennis, the earth is not flat, and there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud that the election was stolen. And the reason why, which I'm amazed that you can't admit, even if Donald Trump won Arizona, he still loses the election. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Donald Trump had 61 chances in a courtroom.
Do you
No,
actually
and
believe
by the
that
way,
Joe Biden was more popular than Barack Obama?
okay.
That
So
he got
first
more
of all,
votes than Barack Obama.
first of all, it's not what I believe. It's facts versus fiction. Okay.
Okay. So
We
here's
were
the
in a.
thing.
I'm answering your question. I'm answering your question.
That's such a
I'll answer your
false
question though.
assertion. It's
I'll
fact
answer your
versus
question.
fiction. So
I'll answer your question.
you actually believe that,
I'll answer your
that
question.
it is So here's the thing. You're advocating for a
I'll answer your
level of
question.
corruption in our electoral
Okay.
system.
Dumb
You're
statement.
saying that
Complete.
just because a
Dumb
fact
statement.
hasn't been properly questioned yet or gone through an
Okay.
investigative process
No.
yet, that
No.
all of a
It
sudden
actually has.
that means that it's
It actually
100%
has.
true
No.
that there was no fraud whatsoever in 2020.
Never said that.
That
Okay,
there's no
so
reason to
again,
question the voting machine.
Hold on. So, okay, yeah. Okay. Yep. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yep. Yep. So fair enough. So Dennis just said something that I never said. I never said there wasn't any fraud. What
Oh,
I
so you
said,
admit.
and the question, no, the question that I keep asking, which you haven't answered, which the answer is no. There has been no evidence to this day of widespread voter fraud. Now, 0-61 Donald Trump was in the courtrooms. Those judges, some of them Trump appointed, there was no merit, meaning he had the opportunity to present evidence, which he was unable to do. And Donald Trump goes down in history, by the way, Dennis, as the only president to not concede an election. Hillary Clinton conceded, Kamala Harris conceded. And if Donald Trump had conceded the election, which goes to why I brought this up at the beginning of this conversation, if he had conceded, January 6th does not happen. They wouldn't be chanting, hang Mike Pence. 140 officers wouldn't have been injured. And by the way, do you think you're a hostage or a patriot if you beat cops on January 6th? Surely, Dennis, you can't agree with the president's verbiage that they were all hostage and patriots, right?
Well, I'm sure that if you have this much of a problem with January 6th, you also condemn BLM.
I'm happy to talk about
The
that.
BLM riots, you condemn
so
the
can you
billions
please
of dollars
hold
of
on,
damage,
Dennis?
all the
Dennis,
destruction. You
Dennis,
condemn all of that?
Dennis, I'll answer your question, but can you please answer mine first before you pivot? If you beat cops on January 6th, are you a hostage and a patriot?
Who beat the cops?
Is
Who
that
specifically?
is that a serious statement? You're mean to tell me, Dennis, you're running for
No,
office.
it's not a serious statement. I asked you a question. You don't have to heighten the language right now. I'm asking you a question.
I'm
I want to
heightening the
know
language.
specific cases
I'm-
of who beat who.
I'm heightening
and
the language.
how the situation played out. I want thorough explanations.
Yes, I'm
of,
going to give it to you.
Court
give it to
records
you.
of how it played out.
I'm going to give it to you.
All that stuff.
I'm going to
'cause
give
you're
it to you.
making Some crazy
I'm giving it to
allegations.
you.
You're cherry
I'm going to answer you.
You're
I'm
hyper
going to
focusing
answer
on
you.
specific moments.
I'm going to answer
when
you.
there's plenty of questions,
I'm
including
answering
Shapiro.
you.
All right, Dennis, let's let him respond.
I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to answer.
Dennis, you're shotgunning, buddy.
May have caused the
This is the
situation to get out
problem.
of control.
This is my big issue with people like Dennis, with all due respect. We all saw videos.
What do you mean people like me?
Yeah, and I'm going to explain why if you will allow me to talk.
Go ahead.
We all
I'm
saw
half the country, buddy. If you hate half the country, you're gonna have to live with that.
You are definitely
Come on,
not
Dennis.
half the country. If
You
you're
can't
half the,
let him respond. We're going to go to timed.
if you're half the country, boy, are we in a lot of trouble. So first of all, everybody saw the video and the videos of officers being beaten on January 6th. Of the 1,500 people that were arrested, half of them were arrested and convicted of violent crimes. There were 140 officers.
The majority of them weren't even given due process.
Dennis,
what you're saying is absolutely false.
Dude,
I personally know January 6th people, January 6th people who are held in solitary confinement with zero due process.
Dennis, I'm not saying that every single person was treated fairly.
No, you're literally just made that assertion.
Dennis, you're not listening because you keep talking over me. Let me finish. Of the 1,500 people that were arrested and convicted, half of those people were convicted for violent crime. Of those half, 700 people, a few hundred of those people had a chance to defend themselves in a court of law, and some of those people were convicted and sentenced for battery and beating officers. Brian Sitnick died the next day. There were literally 140 officers that were injured. That
there was no direct correlation between Brian Sitnick dying and what happened on January 6th. It's purely speculative.
Okay, so no, it's not, and I'll tell you why. The coroner, who actually did an autopsy on Brian Sitnick, did an interview the next week with the local DC newspaper, and you're obviously unaware of what he said. You could look this up if you don't believe me. He said that the state of the body that Brian Sitnick was in January 6th had something to do with it. That's the guy who actually did the autopsy.
Nothing to do with it. Oh, couldn't have placed it more broadly than that.
Okay, got you. So I'm sure it had nothing to do. There were 140 officers that were injured that day.
The only person who actually died that day was Ashley Babbitt, who got shot. And then there was somebody else who got taken out on a stretcher. Another January 6th person who died outside. Outside the Capitol. So both, again, you never mentioned those cases. I wonder why. You care so much about
Alex I talk about it all the time.
And Renee Good, but you don't mention Ashley Babbitt. Why
I'll answer that.
Why do you have a double standard?
I'll give you, it's not a double standard. I'm going to give you a direct answer. I'm going to give you a direct answer. The reason why. Alex Preddy and Renee Good were not committing felonies. Okay. At the time they were murdered.
Obstruction of justice isn't a felony now, huh?
That has not been established.
Oh, okay. That has not, okay.
In the Renee Good.
So
okay, hold on.
Let me finish. Legal terms whenever they apply, whenever it's convenient for you.
No, I'm actually explaining something called a fact. If you'll let me finish and let me talk for 10 seconds.
Okay.
So
finish,
okay,
Brian. I'll let you talk. Go monologue.
That's very nice of you. Thank you, sir. Ashley Babbitt. That whole case was investigated. She was committing a felony. There was a gun that was pointed at her. She had 5 to 10 seconds. The officer, and by the way, that was investigated, fully investigated, unlike Renee Good shooting, which there has been no full investigation. They haven't done ballistics. They haven't interviewed witnesses. They've done nothing because Kash Patel has ordered them not to. So don't give me this bullshit and trying to conflate the two. Ashley Babbitt's family received $5 million. It's very sad what happened to her. She's someone who served this country and she was brainwashed, but she was committing a felony that day and she did it to herself.
Okay, Brian, let's let Dennis respond to that claim specifically if he'd like to.
Sure.
I'd like to bring it back to Kamala Harris because I think it's well, I mean, we can keep talking about Ashley Babbitt, but we're here to debate Kamala Harris actually being a good candidate. If you want to keep talking about Ashley Babbitt, we can do that. But I'm just curious. So considering the state of the world right now, how would you see Kamala Harris doing a better job than Trump?
Yeah. So I thought I already answered that in my monologue, but it's a good question, Dennis, and I'm glad to answer it again. We would not be in an ill-advised and, in my opinion, illegal war right now. Those 13 brave men and women in uniform would not be buried right now if Kamala Harris was president of the United States. Number two, inflation was headed in the right direction. Unemployment rate was at 4.1%.
All right, Brian, let's try to take this one point at a time there. What your first point again, and then Dennis respond to that.
Okay, fair enough. We would not be in an ill-advised war spending $2 billion a day. Go ahead, Dennis. Tell me I'm wrong.
In fact, we would be in a much deeper conflict than that. Because if you look at it, Kamala Harris would have 100% supported, taken a similar stance, but from a weaker position as Trump. Because if you'll remember, when Israel first started attacking Palestine as a response to October 7th, Kamala Harris was in full support of that. And not only that, she was in 2024, she was in full support of Israel retaliating against Iran when Iran did a missile strike against Israel. So she was very much in the pocket of Israel and would have acted in the exact same way. But as we all know, trepidatiously would have responded instead of doing it with a force, which is unfortunately what you need in these kinds of situations when you're dealing with people who are very aggressive.
Yeah, sure.
As we've seen, Iran's leadership is nothing to shy, away from. These guys are very tough, to be honest with you. I think that honestly, look, my take on the whole thing is we shouldn't have gotten involved in it. If Kamala Harris were here, we would have gotten involved regardless. And it would have ended up much unbelievably worse. Because
all right, well, let me just
by now, considering the amount of the millions of people that she has allowed into the country illegally without all the interior removals that happened in the last year and a half, we would have ended up very likely with an attack in the homeland, some sort of terrorist attack, some sort of dirty bomb. The amount of people that were removed from the country, the 1.3 million people that were removed from the country in the last year likely saved us from actually getting retaliated against when this happened. And if you remember, the day after.
All right, last point, Dennis, and then we'll hit point 2, and then you can respond to that one.
Okay, well, let me just finish. The day after we did the initial strike on Iran, there was a response attack in Austin. So there was a very real possibility that this could have played out in the homeland in a much worse way. And the only reason why it didn't happen is because we have Trump.
Yep. Let me just update Dennis on the news. I don't know if you've been watching the news today, Dennis. If you want to talk about weakness, let's talk about weakness. So Donald Trump just agreed to a 2-week ceasefire again with Iran, and he acknowledged Iran's own 10-point framework. Iran's Supreme National Security Council said today that the U.S. has effectively accepted its own core demands, including continued Iran control over the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance of uranium enrichment, lifting sanctions, and even discussions, Dennis, of compensation and U.S. troop withdrawal. CNN released this statement from Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and Donald Trump now is threatening a lawsuit against them, even though it's Iran's own statement that they put out. So for you to lecture me,
okay, let's
hold on. For you to
last
lecture me
sentence
about
there.
for you to lecture me about weakness, the guy who you voted for, you couldn't be more weak, and that's why we call him Taco Trump on a Tuesday, Dennis.
All right, Dennis, go ahead.
There are a few different things I want to respond to on there. When you look at that situation, first off, I don't know if strategically you understand why it actually benefits America to weaken the Strait of Hormuz and the ability to move it. We're one of the largest producers of energy in the world, and we actually produce enough not just for ourselves but to export. If we can start creating even more and exporting it to the world and displacing the Middle East as a primary supplier of the world of energy, especially considering the new partnerships that we're developing in Venezuela, all of a sudden we have a whole other source of income and wealth.
That's not happening.
On top
That's
of
not
that,
happening.
I actually don't mind withdrawing troops from the Middle East. I am a non-interventionalist. I don't want to be doing the bidding of Israel and helping Israel expand their government and their land. I don't want.
Which Trump has done.
Israel. I don't want to provide them weapons so they can bomb Iran. I don't want to give them weapons so they can bomb southern Lebanon.
Trump has done that. Trump has done that.
Gaza into nothing.
All right,
okay.
Dennis. For the last 15 minutes, we're gonna do 60-second responses back and forth by vote of the chat here.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm listening, Chad. I'm listening.
So Donald Trump has done all those things that you said don't want to happen. That's number one. Number two, we still don't have a clear explanation from the Trump administration as to why we even went in there to begin with. First, we were told regime change. Let's talk about that 30 seconds here. So Donald Trump has been trying to make the argument that this is a more or less radical regime that's in there. You have the Ayatollah's son, and you have younger, more capable, and more radicalized people in that position now than they were when the Ayatollah was there. And then they moved to, well, it's not really about regime. We want civilians to rise up. What the hell does that mean? And then we were told that, well, there was an imminent threat. And then when they walked off that, then it was about the Marines and the ships. They can't, at least George W. Bush came up with one lie and stuck to it. The Trump administration can't even do that. And now Trump was embarrassed. He backed down. He has lived up to what Iran wanted him to do.
Right.
The straight. Go ahead.
That's
Go
your
ahead.
minute. Go ahead,
I
Dennis.
mean, I agree with you on that end. The narrative management from the Trump administration, or even Pete Hegseth, has been absolutely awful. They haven't been able to nail down reasons. They initially said, like I mentioned, Speaker Johnson, Tom Cotton, and it's slipping my mind right now, and Marco Rubio mentioned that this was a preemptive strike on behalf of Israel, because Israel was going to do it. It was going to put our assets in the region in danger. The narrative management has been awful, but the outcome, as somebody who's America first, who's a non-interventionalist, who actually wants to see a strong America exporting energy around the world, you know what? This is actually a pretty decent outcome. Obviously, it looks like a bunch of concessions to the Iranian regime. Well, like you mentioned, we haven't seen a full statement from the White House. We haven't seen statements as far as explaining our thoughts and our methodology around, even considering these sorts of concessions. But at the end of the day, look, I want to be out of the Middle East.
All
I
right,
don't
that
care
was
about the
your
Middle East.
minute.
And I want to see an energy independent America.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple things. You're talking about what you want to see happen here, and the fact of the matter is right now gas prices are through the roof. We're spending $2 billion a day in this war, and our brave men and women in uniform are coming home in caskets. I also think it's a great thing that we got this pilot back. Right, anytime we can save a life and bring somebody home, that's a good thing. But Pete Hegseth, who you mentioned, or I like to call Heg Breath, he's an absolute embarrassment and an alleged woman abuser. His own mother called him that. But, Donald Trump only hires the best people, right? Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth. Donald Trump only hires the best people. But the point that I was trying to make about this helicopter pilot, and again, I emphasize I'm glad that he's home, is that when you have these brave men and women coming home in caskets, which is horrible, Pete Hegseth doesn't want the media covering that. They're not holding press conferences, and Donald Trump is wearing a baseball cap, and you guys seem to obsess over Joe Biden looking at his watch for half a second, and then Fox News uses different footage to talk about that. The fact of the matter is that there are brave men and women. Their lives are being put at risk. I have the most respect for them, and we have a guy who doesn't care about them. He doesn't
There's your
care.
minute. Some people in the chat are saying if you guys want, you can do 2 minutes. They'd probably enjoy that a little more. What do you guys think?
Whatever you guys want.
That's about a minute and 48 seconds longer than Donald Trump lasted with Stormy Daniels. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there a little bit. I apologize.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, okay. We'll do 2 minutes, which should be about five back and forth here for the last 10 minutes. Then we're going to get into the Q&A. So, guys, get your super chats in for the Q&A. Please be respectful. Ask sincere questions. Don't just insult the debaters. And then go ahead, get your tickets for DebateCon 8. That's coming up in July. So it's about to sell out probably in the next week or so. Appreciate all the feedback. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. This is a neutral platform, so I'm doing my best
You're
here.
doing a great
There's
job,
very,
Dennis. Thank
You are.
very unneutral people in the chat, which I could agree with, is necessary to have engagement. But yeah, here we go. We're going to go into 2 minutes. We got about 10 to 12 minutes left of the open dialogue. Go ahead, Dennis. Start now.
What's the top? I forgot what you said last. Brian.
Well, obviously, Dennis, we're talking about Iran, right? And we're talking about, and I think we probably agree a lot more than we disagree when it comes to, the war in Iran and how it's affecting America, how it's affecting our economy. I'll just say this, and then you take the floor. The two people right now that has benefited the most from this war, Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin. Financially right now, if we had to look at it. And when you say America first, yeah, I want America first.
Let's
America first.
also find a way to tie it back into the prompt. It's all connected, obviously, if you think about it. But if you could, Dennis, I haven't started your time yet, just so Brian can catch you up. So go ahead.
Back to Kamala. Gotcha. Well, I don't disagree with you on Benjamin Netanyahu benefiting. I think Russia is very happy that we have a weakened position in the Middle East as well. At the end of the day, again, I have to bring it back to this because it's very emblematic of Kamala Harris's foreign policy. She would have been much weaker. She would have given away the entire world. And if we ended up having any sort of military operation that she was heading as commander in chief, it would have been an absolute disaster. Who knows how many people? You were mentioning Americans dying. It's always unfortunate when any American dies. And that's in fact one of my major criticisms. I think that American blood should never be, spent on any war, any conflict that's not in the interest of Americans, and it should be a decision that's made by all Americans. It shouldn't be the kind of thing that you just sign off on and you just send a bunch of people out. Obviously, we have other judicial precedent that allows the president to do that. But all that being said, I believe strongly that if Kamala Harris were president right now, we would have given up the entire Middle East, every position we've had. We would have incurred billions upon billions of dollars in damage all over the region. Our positions would be weakened. We wouldn't be strategically in a position where we can now sell oil to the whole world. We can be a friendlier partner than Iran. So I just don't understand how she could have been a better mediator in this sort of negotiation when you're dealing
30
with
seconds.
people who are very hostile toward America. You need some level of, for lack of a better word, of a strong man, right? Who is going to come in and negotiate in the strongest sense. And look, when I read that tweet this morning that Trump posted, myself and many other Republicans, and I talked to a lot of people in the party today about this. What do you think about this? Is this, that tweet that he posted on Easter, that pissed me off. So, there are a lot of internal conversations happening in the Republican Party, but at the same time, we have an understanding that he has more access to information, and he is negotiating from a position where he's trying to, he's sending a message, and in return, he's actually getting the concessions that actually benefit America in the long term when you think about it.
Okay, Dennis, I gave you about 20 seconds extra there, so I'll give you 20 seconds extra, Brian.
So first of all, if you want to talk about hostile towards America, let's talk about Vladimir Putin for a moment, who have already basically conceded that they are giving up intel to the Iranian government. What that means is that they're putting our own troops. You just said you care about American blood just as much as I do. They are actually giving intel to Iran. And what is Donald Trump doing about it? Nothing. They haven't talked about it. There have been no sanctions. In fact, the Trump administration has said they've had, quote, wonderful talks over the last few months. So if you want to talk about hostile towards America, maybe we could just start there. Number two, they're more hostile towards us now. How do you think those parents are feeling losing their young girls? We've lost 175 Iranian children. And by the way, Donald Trump lied about that as well. His initial response was it could have been Iran. To all the MAGA dopes out there that might be watching, guess what? Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles. America does. And by the way, they knew that they're the ones who did it, and they didn't own it or take responsibility, and they tried to lie about it. So if you want to talk about hostile towards America, I would think there are a lot of people in Iran that are probably more hostile towards America now than they were a few months ago.
Got
we
a
have a
minute
younger
left.
regime. You have a younger regime, and I think a lot of people would argue a more radical regime. Wasn't the whole point that Donald Trump said he wanted to choose the regime? And he's saying right now this is a smarter regime and they're less radical. What the hell is he talking about? You've got the Ayatollah's son. You have younger people in that regime right now that are far more radical and probably more capable than an old man that was in there to begin with. So that is also a lie. They've been lying about this war from the beginning since day one. Now Donald Trump has caved to their demands. We don't have Hormuz, and we're still going to be at war in 2 weeks. Okay, so he agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. What have we accomplished? What has America accomplished? What have we gained
20
from
seconds.
this war? We haven't gained anything from this war. Sadly, our troops are coming home in caskets. Our gas, I just paid $5.25 a gallon. And then you have Trumpers and MAGA people out there that saying somehow it's patriotic to spend more money from gas while he gives the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%, and the people that are living paycheck to paycheck are the people that are struggling. It's a joke.
All right, Dennis, we're going to turn it back to you. 2 minutes on the clock, starting when you talk.
Well, here's the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to move production back home. We're going to weaken the position of Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and the amount of influence that it has as far as exporting oil. We can easily produce more oil at home when it comes to that. I think at the end of the day, this will end up playing out better long term for America. We're, we already moved many years ago into being completely energy independent. We moved away from our dependence on oil from the Saudis. So, this is a matter of displacing the global order. And there is an effort by the Iranians to weaken us economically by weakening the petrodollar. And this is effectively moving away from the world's dependence on the Strait of Hormuz is one of the smartest moves that you can do economically long term. When it comes to the cost of lives and everything, again, the points that you laid out, in the agreement, one of them reducing our involvement there, removing our troops from bases there. That's all going to solve that problem. I think most Americans want less involvement in the Middle East. I myself included. I grew up seeing our involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq. I want to be out of there. I see no reason to be there outside of doing Israel's bidding. So, again, I'm deeply saddened whenever any American is lost. I think it's awful. I don't think it's ever
30
justified,
seconds.
especially in a scenario like this. I don't want to be doing Israel's bidding. That's one thing that I think should be discussed at length here. Why are we engaging in wars on behalf of our so-called greatest ally?
10 seconds.
And then we're looking 2 and 3 weeks later at a potential ground invasion, and they say, hey, guys, no, we're not going in with that. We're just going to keep bombing southern Lebanon into oblivion, and you guys go in there and take care of that. So,
all right.
At the end of the
Dennis.
day, obviously, the deal on paper doesn't look like it's the best deal, but if you're actually America first, and if you're actually pro-America, you understand that this is all going to work in America's benefit.
All right.
Yeah, I heard the same.
I'll give you an extra 15 seconds, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I heard the same thing about the war in Iraq when we were told weapons of mass destruction. In the long run, things are going to be okay. We're still paying for that war. And I would also remind you that Donald Trump said there was peace in the Middle East about 10 months ago. And then we were told 8 months ago we obliterated their capabilities. Apparently, we obliterated their capabilities again. There was never peace in the Middle East. Israel and Hamas broke a ceasefire. He lied then. He's lying now. This isn't going to end well, just like the war in Iraq didn't end well. And every single time it seems like we have a Republican in office, we get into another ill-advised and illegal war, and we're being lied to. Americans are being lied to. Trump is continuing to lie to the American people, and we should have never been there to begin with. I am not pro-Israeli government. I'm pro-Israeli people. Benjamin Netanyahu has played Donald Trump like a fiddle. Vladimir Putin has played Donald Trump like a fiddle. This is the opposite of America first. And while we take people off of Medicare and we take the most needy people off of government assistance, we're spending $2 billion a day on this war. And pardon my French, it's a fucking joke. And it's an embarrassment that we're not taking care of our own people in America. This is the opposite of America first. And he ran on America first. And you, as well as I know, Dennis, this is the opposite of America first. And we are suffering in this country because of Donald Trump.
All right. You're going to go ahead and concede the rest of your time there?
Yeah,
Do I get
go ahead.
more?
Let
Okay,
Dennis
yeah.
respond.
Yeah, we'll do like 2 back and forths, and then we'll get into the Q&A.
Sure.
Cool. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that Republicans have been starting wars every time they're in office. When you look back at Obama, the president who's done the most unilateral drone strikes in the history of the office, who's killed more innocent civilians than anybody else, has presided over more international disasters as far as, you got Benghazi, right? And then you look at Joe Biden, leaving Afghanistan, and one of the grossest disasters, even worse than the end of the Vietnam War, just purely embarrassing, not just for our military, but for every American. I would say it was one of the biggest reasons why he ended up losing the election. It was just the level of embarrassment. So, I mean, if according to you, and obviously I disagree with this premise, but if according to you, Republicans start wars, the way that Democrats deal with wars and foreign engagement just always leads to either the deaths of innocent civilians or just pure embarrassment in the global stage. I'd like to. Said, I just want to finish on one thing. That tomahawk that fell on that hit a school, that was absolutely atrocious. And I actually I criticized Pete Hegseth, and I criticized Trump and Carolyn Levitt for trying to cover that over. It shouldn't have been. We shouldn't have been even involved in that in the first place to begin with, obviously. And if you look at the map and how they did it, it was clearly an error in calculation because there were 7 buildings, military buildings. They bombed 6 of them, and they missed one of the military buildings and bombed the school next
Yeah.
to it. Obviously, shouldn't have happened. But if you look at
10
that and
seconds
you
left.
look at how Democrats handle foreign conflicts, gross mismanagement and just through the roof civilian deaths.
Yeah, so if I
Go
could
ahead.
just respond to those 2 things that you just mentioned, which are not true. First of all, Barack Obama didn't kill more civilians than any other president in my lifetime. That would be George W. Bush in the war in Iraq, where not only did we lose thousands of American soldiers, but we lost hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqi civilians. So what you said is factually inaccurate.
I
That's
said
number
drone
one.
strikes.
Hold on,
I said
hold on, hold on.
unilateral drone
Okay.
strikes.
And I said starting actual wars. Barack Obama did not start a war. So let's be factually accurate there. Let's talk about Afghanistan for a moment. Those soldiers that lost their lives are absolutely tragic. But unfortunately, you just want to focus. I think it was 13 soldiers. I could be mistaken. It was 12 or 13 soldiers that lost their lives. John Bolton, who actually worked in Donald Trump's administration, had said that he had virtually an identical withdrawal. And I will also add that I would be willing to bet you don't know how many soldiers in Afghanistan died under Donald Trump's first administration, okay? But I do. So anybody who dies under any administration, I think we agree, it is horribly tragic, it's awful, and it's wrong. But the fact of the matter is that Republicans, I didn't talk about drone strikes. I said, get us involved in wars. We have boots on the ground in Iran. We had boots on the ground in Iraq. George W. Bush got us in an ill-advised war. We were lied about weapons of mass destruction. Heck, even Donald Trump agrees on that. It's how he got elected, really, and defeated Jeb Bush in that situation. Barack Obama did not kill more civilians with drones. Listen, the fact of the matter is that Kamala Harris, because going back to Kamala, she would not have got us. Here's the issue with this whole debate. You're dealing in hypotheticals, and which is fine, but you're saying,
The whole debate's
hold on,
hypothetical.
hold on. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. I can give you the first
Kamala
year
Harris
and a half.
is hypothetical.
Hold on. I can give you the first year and a half of Donald Trump's presidency here and why his approval ratings are abysmal. And we talked about the Epstein files. We talked about the war in Iran. Those are not hypotheticals. It has been a disaster. Now, you could think and you could say it's your opinion, Dennis, and that's fine, that I believe Kamala would have done this. Kamala would have done that. Obviously, I disagree with you. Those are hypotheticals. What I am dealing with is what actually has happened in the first 18, 19 months of Donald Trump's administration in an illegal war, an ill-advised war. The Epstein files have been a mess. The economy is a mess. The tariffs have been a mess.
All right.
What about Doge?
Well-
Okay, so those are not hypotheticals. Those are facts that I'm
So
giving you. You can go ahead.
That's about 20 seconds over I gave you since Dennis cut in just for a second. Dennis, I'll give you the same amount, and then since he opened, I'll let Brian end, and then we'll get into the Q&A.
Cool.
Okay.
So here's my question to you. If Kamala Harris is such a great candidate, then why is she so deeply unpopular still that she can't even run and hope to win in California? That was her next great step, was to become governor of California. Come in. There were so many polls, so much media saying if Kamala Harris were to join the race, she could win. She has a great possibility. And yet she was polling lower than every single candidate, than even Becerra, than anybody. She had absolutely no chance of winning. So much so that she had to deflect off to a book tour instead of actually going out and running for governor of California, because she stood absolutely no chance. Because, like you even said, she's like your third or fourth choice for a candidate. You'd rather have a corpse in the White House using an auto pen than Kamala Harris. That's who you rather have. You rather have Joe Biden being, like a marionette, just like a little doll, somebody just pulling the strings, Joe Biden or whoever else was running his cabinet at the end his last year, than anybody else, than Kamala Harris. So, I think, like I said in the beginning, I think it's evident Kamala Harris's ability to govern and just how good of a president she would have turned out to be by the sentiment that Democrats demonstrate around her. She was the first candidate in 2020 to drop out. She had to be appointed, a DEI appointment, okay, last minute to save a dying campaign. So deeply unpopular. Even though she spent over $1 billion in her campaign, she got absolutely wiped. Lost every single swing state, lost the popular vote, got the guy that got voted out last time to win many demographics, and now she's so deeply unpopular that she can't even win a primary in the most Democrat state in the country, where she supposedly could just come in on her reputation, where she's been a leader her entire career. She supposedly could just swoop in on her reputation and win the governorship, where she effectively would just have to win the primary in order to come in and win.
All
That's
right,
how
Dennis.
easy it is for a Democrat to win in California. But
Yeah.
Kamala just can't do it. 'cause
Close
she's
it out.
awful.
Okay, so responding to what you just said, first of all, you keep, as Donald Trump keeps using the verbiage landslide, this is one of the closest elections we've ever had in American history. As far as the swing states go, Donald Trump won all the swing states by a total of around 350,000 votes. So it was not, what you keep saying, landslide, and what the president keeps saying. That's number one. Number two, I never said, and this is the problem, Dennis, because I don't think you actually listen sometimes to what I say. I never said that Kamala Harris was a, quote, great candidate. Any good candidate would have defeated Donald Trump. I think she made a lot of mistakes. Her campaign made a lot of mistakes, number one. And I think Joe Biden did a big disservice to the country by not stepping down much sooner. I've criticized Joe Biden for that. I think it put Kamala in a very difficult position because Trump was basically campaigning for 4 years. Kamala had about 3 months. I never said Kamala was a great candidate. What I did say is that I would have voted for a ham sandwich over a 34-count felon, liable sexual abuser. That's what I've been very consistent on. And I'm making the argument, not that Kamala was a great candidate. I'm making the argument that she would have been a better
third
president.
and fourth.
And we wouldn't, and I stand by that. I stand by that. I think there were better candidates out there than her. I've said
Thank
that.
you
By
for
the way,
proving my point.
I don't want Kamala to run again. But if we're talking about Kamala versus Donald
Why are you even
Trump,
debating for her?
hold
then?
on, no, because you're not listening, Dennis, and it's totally going over your head. So let me repeat it. If it's Kamala versus Donald Trump, which is what this debate was supposed to be about, I choose Kamala because I don't believe this country would be in dire straits and be in the situation it's in now. That doesn't mean I say she was a great candidate, and it doesn't mean I say that I wouldn't have chosen others over Kamala Harris. That's what this debate was about. It wasn't about whether Kamala was a great candidate. It's whether she would have done a better job, and we wouldn't be in the hell that this country is in right now with an ill-advised war, which we both agree on should not have happened. The Epstein files and the way the Trump administration has handled it, which has been an embarrassment. Pam Bondi's been an embarrassment. Kristi Noem's been an embarrassment, to the point where Donald Trump had to fire them. We would not have been, and Kamala would have had competent people around her that would have helped her. There are very few Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a woman whose husband ran the WWE. You want to talk about DEI
let's land the
hires?
plane there.
I'll call them DE white hires. Donald Trump's administration are a bunch of right-wing buffoons. That's who they are.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you guys getting into that. That's it was a spirited back and forth there. We didn't even have to do the timed for too long. We're gonna get into the Q&As here, so you guys get your super chats in. Get your tickets to DebateCon 8 in Dallas, Texas. That's going to be on July 25th and 26th. And then we'll get also, let me see, we'll get the numbers of the early birds that are left hopefully here soon. I don't think it's very many, so if you guys want a cheaper ticket, I would get them now, because it definitely will sell out. First super chat is going to be from Alex Medeiros for $5. I believe he's been on MDD before. He says, Brian, when Andrew knocks you out in the boxing match, will you finally realize being a syndicated radio host doesn't mean anything in 2026?
That's a very intelligent statement. So let me just give this imbecile a little background on what has taken place here. Andrew Wilson is obsessed with me. He makes cartoons about me. These people have nothing better to do than to talk about me. I think yesterday there were like 10 podcasts going on, Andrew Wilson being one of them, and there were others that just talk about me, and they get their content from my show. So here's what happened, because this guy is obviously ignorant to facts. After he did that cartoon, which by the way I thought was funny, I thought it was a little pathetic, but it was funny. I actually told Andrew I thought it was funny. I immediately sent out a tweet and I said, I will challenge Andrew to a fight in the ring. Andrew Wilson immediately said he didn't want to do it. And I have the IM to prove that. And actually, I posted that on Twitter. And then the next day, to try to save face, he says, Brian, raised $50,000, which, by the way, I said I would do. And then he kind of walked off of that in private DMs and said, well, let's leave it to somebody else to raise the money. I have all the DMs to prove that. So this guy that's obviously, I guess, a cultist fan of the chain smoking, alcoholic, imbecile, fake Christian that is Andrew Wilson, and he obviously doesn't know the history behind it. Let me be very clear. I would kick Andrew Wilson's ass and floor him in an instant. I'm in better shape than him. He looks like a 5 foot tall Buddha and 300 pounds of chewed bubble gum. So thank you for that $5 super chat, you Andrew Wilson cultist buffoon.
Awesome. Thanks for that response. And Dennis, you can respond to them if they're not directed at you. It's up to you. I just ask that keep it short, you know?
Okay, I'm actually trying to look up this cartoon and see where it is.
It's actually pretty funny, Dennis. It's funny, like if some random person put it together, but the fact that Andrew paid money with voiceover work to put, and by the way, this isn't the first cartoon he's done about me. He's done multiple cartoons about me. And by the way, for people that are unaware, I'm going to be debating his wife, Rachel, who I also think is a despicable human being. I'm going to be debating her on the North Carolina campus on April 28th. I've agreed to do that only because I'm getting paid. Otherwise, I'd rather put my penis through a meat grinder than have to debate her on feminism. Yeah, it's going to be hell.
Why do you have to keep giving us these like over sexualized images? I don't want to imagine that. Jesus. So bizarre.
I'm just being honest with you. I mean, it's not really something that I want to do. I've agreed to do it. I guess Andrew's going to be there. I just think Andrew and Rachel are not good people. They're just not good people. They're fake Christians. They're bad people. But anyway, let's go. I love these super chats. I love these fans of yours. I know they love me.
Why are you calling them fake Christians? Are you?
Why is Andrew a fake Christian?
Are you Christian?
Sure. No, I'm not. Why would I call Andrew Wilson a fake Christian?
So why would you? Wait, hold on. You're not Christian, and you're saying somebody's a fake Christian?
Yes, absolutely. You think Donald Trump is a Christian? Is a good Christian man?
It's not up to me to decide. It's between him and the Lord. That's how a Christian sees it.
Okay. Well, here's what I do. I call people hypocrites. When people want the 10 Commandments in classrooms.
I will call them hypocrites too, but this is the thing. In Christianity, everybody's a sinner. So I'm not here to cast judgment. I'm not here to decide who's a Christian or not. I don't know if they've accepted Christ.
Well, here's the thing.
Where we disagree.
So here's where we disagree. When you preach certain things and how people should live their lives, and then you're the one committing sins yourself, you're a hypocrite, hence a fake Christian. So I don't want to hear.
I think you're ignoring a basic thing in Christianity. Obviously, I don't know everything that you're alluding to, but the thing is, if you accept Christ, there's an understanding that you're a sinner and that you are full of flaws and that you are committing. Obviously, there's the straight and narrow. There's this thing that Jesus says, everybody loves to allude to, about throwing the rock. He says, whoever is without sin, throw the first stone. And then he later says to the woman, go and sin no more. That's a recognition of this process that keeps happening. You end up sinning, you end up falling, and then you are renewed in Christ. You repent, you reform, you refine yourself. So that's why you try to avoid casting judgment and saying who is and who isn't a Christian.
Really? So you don't like
them and their creator, and they're going to have to pay for that.
So that's my huge issue with religion is many religious people cast judgment on others. They think homosexuality is a sin.
Well, you were just casting judgment on them.
Right. Because what they do is
why can you do it, but other people can't?
I'm giving you the reasoning behind it. You see, I'll give you an example with Rachel Wilson.
Do you consider yourself more worthy of doing that than them?
I'm gonna give you a direct example.
Okay.
I don't like hypocrites. What Rachel Wilson does, and I'm going to address this with her in person. She tells women how she thinks they should live their lives based on Christianity. But her herself has 3 baby daddies. This is against normal Christian values. Okay. So if you're going to tell other women how to live their life, by the way, I don't care how many baby daddies you have. I don't judge people.
Well,
the reason
clearly
why
you do.
let
And
me
you're trying to
finish.
measure her.
No,
So
here's
the thing.
why.
Here's a hypocrisy
You're not,
in your own
you're not
statement.
understanding.
Not only
You're
do
not
you
un-
care about it,
you're
but
not
you're trying to
understanding.
measure her
No, I
by
don't.
a standard of a religion that you don't even practice,
No,
that you don't
I
even
don't.
fully understand.
I don't.
This is the thing. You can commit sin. You know the story around Mary Magdalene?
I don't, but you're totally misunderstanding my
So
point, Dennis.
you don't even have a basis
Dennis,
to be casting this sort of
Dennis,
judgment about
Dennis.
Christianity on a Christian when you don't even understand the basis of the religion.
Here's what I do
You're calling
understand.
somebody a fake Christian without even
Yes.
knowing what Christianity
Yes.
is. It's
Yes.
like crazy.
Here's
It's
what
like
here's what I do know.
retarded.
It's not
To
crazy.
hear you
No,
say
it's not.
this.
It's not retarded because you don't even understand my point. I'm talking about hypocrisy and the fact how people hide behind their religion to try to hide in their bigotry. And they are hypocrites when they preach to other people how they should live their lives. And they're the ones making those same mistakes that they're telling other people that they shouldn't be doing. Then they are hypocrites. And you're a fake human being. And if you're going to preach God and you're going to talk about the Bible and you're going to be talking about Jesus and you support Donald Trump, then I think you're a fucking asshole. Okay. I'm just telling you like it is. If you're a Christian person and you preach God and you want to talk about morals and you support a 34 count felon, libel abuser, I think you're a fucking asshole. Okay.
Well, you know, how does it make you any better the fact that you were just here defending Joe Biden, who, according to his
What
own
did I say
daughter
about
in her
Joe Biden?
diaries,
Okay, let's talk
he
about that.
molested her. So,
Sure.
I mean, you are
Where
pretty
is
much
the-
in the
okay,
same
let's
boat
talk
of
about that.
hypocrisy as everybody else.
talk about-
Real quick, guys.
You
One
know,
thing I want to add is it looks like there's multiple people in the chat saying Rachel is actually married to all three of those gentlemen. So I just want to bring that up. Seems like
How
a
can
relevant
she be
point.
married to all three of those gentlemen?
Not
That's
at the
crazy.
same
I did
time.
know
Not at
that.
the same time.
Oh,
Obviously,
okay. All right,
okay.
right.
Like, you know.
She got divorced 3 times.
Well,
I
they're
think Brian-
giving kind of
Brian, I
some
think you got
mixed
muted.
some mixed chats here, but it looks like the
Yeah.
majority are saying like they weren't necessarily all I guess, you know,
Doesn't
one
matter.
night stands or anything like that. So
I
I mean
didn't
that's
say it
kind of
was. I never said it was.
just
so
want to
your
point out what
listeners are
they're saying
obviously-
there.
Your listeners obviously don't know. I would ask your listeners to get the MAGA wax out of their ears. I didn't say that she
Oh my
cheated.
God, bro! Why do you have
I
to
didn't-
insult everybody all the time?
Well, because so you don't like people who insult people all the time, yet you voted for the guy who attacks and has nicknames for people that he disagrees with.
I'm saying like you're just going in. You're instead of actually addressing the point, you're just referring to an ad hominem against the chat because they clearly owned you right now.
Okay, so they owned me because they said she was married when she had 3 different
you don't
baby
know the
daddies.
basis. You don't even know the basis
I do.
of the.
I
what
know
you're
that
trying
she
to
was
level,
married.
the accusation you're trying to level.
So the accusation that I'm leveling, which I'm correct on, is because she tells women to have one man, one father. She tells women how to live their lives, and she literally has 3 different baby daddies, which you would call hypocrisy. It's not hard. You don't have to be very intelligent or, as you use the term, retarded to understand the point that I am trying to make here. And yes, I do believe there are a lot of people out there that are fake Christians who support Donald Trump, who holds a Bible upside down and can't recite one verse in the Bible, but call him a wholesome Christian. You also lied. You said Joe Biden, you said that he molested his daughter.
Well, there was a journal entry where that was actually.
What does it say? And what does it say in there? What does it say? Do you even know what it says?
That was her account. That was in the journal.
What was her account? I know what it said. I'm trying to find out if you know, if you have any idea what the hell you're talking about, because I do. And I'll tell you what it said in there.
Chat right now.
Okay, I know.
Explain it. Go ahead. Explain it.
Is my mic volume still super loud?
Dennis, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about.
My God.
You can laugh. You can give me that MAGA laugh.
Known by this chat, dude. Holy cannoli.
Do you think I care what people say in a chat that is a right-wing chat? I've dealt with this forever. When I do Tim Pool's show, me and Tim both agree on this. His fans are all going to attack me. My fans are all going to. I don't care, and I could give 2 shits what the listeners think about me, and they can all go fuck themselves. I don't care. Okay. Here's what I do care about. Okay. Accuracy. In Jill Biden's diary, she said borderline inappropriate. She didn't say how old she was. And Joe Biden is not a liable sexual abuser. Joe Biden doesn't have 25 women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape. Okay. Donald Trump's own ex-wife in court documents said that he raped her and then he paid her off. So don't try to conflate the two, Dennis. You don't know what you're talking about. And by the way, that diary was in the hands with a guy by the name of Mr. O'Keefe. We don't know. That was never established. And guess who was hanging out with Joe Biden on Easter with his entire family? That's right, Joe Biden's daughter. Okay. I didn't see a family photo of Donald Trump hanging out with his family on Easter. Instead, he was talking about the auto pen and didn't even know where Melania Trump was because he's a demented old man. If you want to talk about sexual abuse, it's the guy who you voted for, not Joe Biden, who you want to call him a child molester, which he's not.
We do have other super chats to get to, so Dennis, if you want.
I bet we do.
Last one.
I bet we do.
Yeah, they're coming.
Yeah, let's go to some of these super chats. I just like seeing Brian just spurg out and have a meltdown. It's just
Hey
so
man,
entertaining.
I'm just giving you facts. I don't care what people think about me. If I cared about that, I wouldn't be in this business. I could give two shits
No, I'm on the
what
same
people
boat
think
as
about
you.
me.
It's just funny to see you
know?
just completely crash out. It's so funny.
I mean, I mean, it's called passion. I'm not crashing out. I'm just giving you facts about what was in the diary. You didn't even know what was in there, and you're calling Joe Biden a child molester. It's embarrassing.
I mean, why are you running cover for somebody like that?
Was he found liable for sexual abuse? Why are you running cover for somebody like Donald Trump?
Let's talk about E. Jean Carroll. That was a civil case.
Yeah, sure. Let's
Everything
talk
else
about
is
that.
just, what's that?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah, E. Jean Carroll was a civil case. Every
Sure.
other case you mentioned, he wasn't convicted or there was no lawsuit attached to any
Was
of it.
Joe
Even
Biden-
the Epstein files? Everything else
Yep.
is a lot
Right.
of it is just speculative.
So you wanna-
you're once again you're holding two different standards, right?
So-
We've seen this play out throughout the entire debate. You'll hold one standard when it benefits you, then you'll hold another when it doesn't. So I mean, it's very
All right.
evident that you, Brian, are in fact the hypocrite.
So how many people have accused Joe Biden of rape?
His daughter in her
No,
diary.
not true. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So this
Okay,
is very
so let me
important.
pull up the exact quote here.
Hold
Let me
on.
see
Okay,
exactly.
I know what the exact quote is.
So
She
cite
claimed
it.
that she.
Say the exact
Oh,
quote.
I already told you. You don't listen. Okay. She called it borderline inappropriate that she was showering with her father. She never said that her father raped her. So go ahead and prove me wrong, Dennis. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. This is really embarrassing. And I don't care what people in the chat say, because if you're a Donald Trump supporter, they're going to defend you and they're going to call Joe Biden a pedophile. Okay. I don't care what they think. Their opinions mean as much to me as my last bathroom visit. Show me an actual quote from her that claims that her father raped her. Go ahead, Dennis.
Real quick,
And then I want you
want
to admit that you were wrong.
Brian, no, we got Andrew in the chat. He said,
Oh,
Andrew
great.
Wilson here.
Great.
Brian,
Shocker.
I own your mind and your soul.
Yeah, well, here's my response to that. I don't make cartoons about middle-aged men on a weekend and pay people to make cartoons. And I don't waste my time doing that. I have better things to do. But Andrew, I look forward to seeing you on the 28th. And as I've challenged you to before, and I'll continue to challenge you, we could have a private conversation, you and me, and we'll see how that goes, pal. Okay. Andrew Wilson and his stupid wife. I can't wait to see both of them in North Carolina. I can't
My
wait.
God,
Brian, are you
brother.
going to DebateCon?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah. You
Where
can-
is it? When is that?
It's in
When is that?
Dallas, Texas, on July 25th and the 26th.
I don't know. I've never been to that before.
It's awesome, man. I've been to the last three. Kind of fell into helping James kind of manage
Yeah.
the events, and it's a lot of fun, man.
You know, it's really weird, guys, because I do a talk show every day, and I talk about, the news of the last 24 hours, the news of the last week, the month. That's really what I do. And I've been getting like 3 or 4 requests to do debates, like literally every day. I'm not exaggerating. And I enjoy them. Don't get me wrong. And Dennis seems like a nice guy. I've got no personal issues with him. I haven't called him any names, have I? I think I only said get the MAGA X out of your ears, and that was a joke.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
to
I
the
mean,
chat, I
you've
think.
You've actually been pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I don't have a because we
This
haven't
chat is
gotten personal.
insatiable. I can't be too
Of
loud.
course.
I can't be too
I have-
quiet.
I have an effect on people on the right. They seem to, just, and I love it, and I've embraced it. I want MAGA supporters to hate me. I love it. I love the engagement. I love the hate. I wear it as a badge. I love it. So the more that they hate me, the more that I enjoy it. I
How's
just want
it-
to be very clear on that.
How's it sound now, guys? Come on. I don't know why it's
I'll take as many super chats as you want, my friend.
real quick. How does it sound now? Just before I read the next super chat. That sounds better? Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, next super chat is from Basil Problem for $5. He says, "Guys, a New York City accent with a lisp does not mean you are stupid. Definitely. Praise God." Dennis, I think that was aimed at you, buddy.
At who? At me?
Yeah.
I have a lisp. I didn't know that.
I think it's more the New York accent.
the New York accent. Yeah.
Wait, are you
well-
accusing Dennis of like being a Lindsey Graham? Is that what you guys are doing?
Oh
I
my
didn't
God.
accuse.
No, don't put me and Lindsay in the same thing. Man.
Dennis, do you know George?
Those
I'm
neocons.
actually friends with George Santos. I can't believe I'm admitting that right now, but I actually
You're
do talk
friends
to
with George Santos. Look at you reaching out across
am.
the aisle. You
Do you-
give him
well,
a reach
Dennis-
around too?
Dennis, here's something that a lot of people don't know about me. I'm friends with a lot of people on the right. I really am.
I know you. And to be fair, we met at AmFest. You were there.
It's
You were
true.
very friendly with everybody. So we debated at AmFest. It was fun. You're a
People-
nice guy outside of this context where you're like insulting everybody in the chat, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you guys." You're like, for lack
Dennis,
of a
I
better
will
word,
say
you're like
this.
an angry little leprechaun. You're like,
All right.
Well,
last thing, because
people were
I
very-
do got to get to these
Yeah.
super chats, and we're gonna be here all
ahead.
night, which I don't want to waste
Yeah.
your guys' time.
Yep. I was just going to say that people were very nice to me at AmFest. I was walking around the halls at AmFest. I think I did like 15 different shows. David Pollock is a friend of mine at OAN. Tim Pool is a friend of mine. I've done his show plenty of times. Alex Stein is a friend of mine. I can get along with people.
Great. I know Alex.
Yeah. So Dennis, I want to be very clear. I can be friends with people that I disagree with. I think Andrew Wilson and his wife are just awful people. And that's just, there's some people you're not going to like. I think they're terrible people. They're bad faith people. But
are you playing it up to hype up this debate, or do you genuinely believe this? Are you cutting a promo right now, WWE promo? Or is this actually like, what do you think?
That's funny. But Dennis, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know what they're like in person. I've never met them in person. I've debated, I do Pierce Morgan all the time. I've debated Andrew Wilson, I think once or twice on there. I don't know what they are like, but I asked Andrew this last night. I said, are you that same person outside of the show? And he said, yes. So, I believe him. I just think they're bad people. And I've heard stories from a lot of people that will not work with them. I just, there's, like I said, there's plenty of people on the right that I am friends with. And I just think Andrew and Rachel are not very good people.
Okay, we'll leave that on that one. Sorry to cut you off if you had a response, Dennis, but we do got to get through these. Basil Problem for another $5 says, Mike, host, would Dr. James Coons approve of the average chat user's BMI? I don't know. You got to ask him, buddy. Right. Next one is the Jabroni Big Time for $5 says, if Brian makes a single argument to back up any of his spurg of assertions, I'll give him $100. You should take him up on that offer. Get that $100 if you can.
Yeah, I think I've made quite a few of those, but again, MAGA wax, too much MAGA wax in the ears.
All right. Flavius for $10 says, if the Democrats are for democracy, can Brian name one registered Democrat who voted for Kamala, a citizen, not a party official?
Okay, so first of all, it's Kamala. I don't know why they would say Kamal. Second of all, the reason why there were so many people, and I was one of them, that was at the No Kings protest. I was actually in San Diego. Is because we care about this country. It's not because we hate the country. We care about threats on our democracy. We care about what Donald Trump is trying to do when it comes to the midterms, because he knows that Republicans are going to go through a bloodbath. I'm pretty sure that Dennis would probably agree with me that it doesn't look too good in the midterms for Republicans. I would assume that he would probably. There's a lot of.
It's not a good outlook right now. Unfortunately.
Yeah, right. I think that's a fair opinion. And when it comes to democracy, I care about our democracy just as much as anybody else. And I think most people do. I want free and fair elections. I don't want voter fraud. But even Turning Point USA admitted that there's only been like 100 people in the last decade that have voted illegally that are undocumented immigrants. So anyway, I want people to vote legally. Of course, I want elections to be held fairly. And just because you voted for Kamala, I think that's more the reason to believe that you care about our democracy. So I really don't understand that statement to begin with.
All right. We can't understand them all, I guess. Flavius, we appreciate that comment there for 10.
Give me some more mean ones, dude. I have thick skin, bro. Give me some mean
we got
tweets.
quite a bit to get through, so strap in, buddy.
I'm glad I'm making you money, man, at my expense. I actually enjoy it. I'm very self-deprecating, believe it or not. So, go for it.
That's respectable in and of itself. So I do appreciate that. Okay, so we got Basil Problem again. He's a big supporter of the channel, even though he constantly talks down on the chat. He punches down, as they say. He says Tucker Carlson called Trump the Antichrist. Is he right?
Yeah. I think Tucker Carlson is right about the war. It depends what your definition of the Antichrist is. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm Jewish, right? A year and a half ago, when people made comparisons to Adolf Hitler and Donald Trump, I didn't like it. I didn't like the comparisons. And now I've changed my mind in this aspect. I understand why people make statements like that because I think Donald Trump is a fascist and a dictator. The Antichrist, I don't know. I guess everybody has a different definition of what exactly that means. I think he's a dictator.
All right,
I think
Dennis,
he's a
what's
fascist.
your opinion on that?
I mean, according to Christian theology, you could potentially see it like that. Do I personally think that he is the Antichrist? No, I don't think. I think that's a little bit of a heightened and dramatic language. I do agree with a lot of what Tucker has been saying recently. I think he's been pretty spot on about this conflict and some of the decisions that went in there into getting us involved with this conflict, our involvement with Israel. But as far as that, to me, you know, when you start getting heightened language like that, and it starts getting a little too dramatic, I have to like take a step back. And, you know, I understand if that's your personal feeling, if you think that he's the Antichrist, but, and you could, like with anything else, find a theological explanation to justify it. But though I do believe that, you know, according to Catholic theology, the book of Revelation is largely allegorical, but I do believe that there's going to be some aspect of Revelation playing out in the next few years.
Speaking
but
of,
I don't think Trump's Antichrist.
Speaking of Revelation, Basil Problem with another $5. He said Alex
Wow.
Jones has denounced Trump. Is Jones crazy?
He has. Now, Alex Jones is a really horrible human being. I actually know people, families that I've interviewed who have lost loved ones in the Sandy Hook shooting. And remember, he called those parents actors. He's a terrible person. However, I played some of the audio on my show today. Alex Jones was calling for the 25th Amendment. Sometimes a squirrel could find a nut now and then. So, yes, I do believe Alex Jones, and I believe he's right when it comes to this war and some of the tweets that Donald Trump has put out recently. So, you know, Alex Jones is right once in a while.
Man,
and I
like,
certainly
it's a
agree with him
whole
today.
job.
That's
all
true.
All right. Dennis, any opinion? You want to go to the next one? This one?
I like Alex. I think Alex has been pretty spot on. A lot of the stuff that he was talking about many years ago, people laughed it off, thinking that he was just a crazy kook with conspiracy theories.
He is.
Well, you know, he's been proven right in a lot of cases. The Sandy Hook case, unfortunately, was a big mistake that he made. But as far as I would say, as far as the Iran take and as far as where we are at culturally and politically and in terms of this war, I think he's been pretty spot on. I think that's why you see such a large coalition on the right of people who are critical of this war, as well as our involvement with Israel. So,
Dennis, is he right when he calls for the 25th Amendment? He did that this morning, and he also did that on his show today.
I think a lot of people rushed to judgment when they saw that tweet. And to be honest with you, it was very alarming to me to see a president tweet out that an entire civilization will be wiped out. Like I said, I had a lot of behind the scenes calls today with people in the California and the LA Republican establishment. And we were trying to figure out what's going on, you know, because even though we're Republicans and we're part of the infrastructure here in California and LA, we don't get necessarily like all the information from the national level. So we're kind of like also trying to figure out. So I'm sure that caused a lot of alarm for a lot of people. And they were like, is he going to nuke people?
Yeah, I didn't think
we saw that report earlier today that the IDF was going to start strategically bombing civilian sites. And when you get a tweet like that after that, you know, you start putting the pieces together. When you leave it up for speculation, it can lead to a lot of unrealistic scenarios. So that's where I think he was coming from. There was a lot of fear, and I think everybody can recognize that tweet caused a lot of fear here in the homeland. And I'm sure that people in Iran, especially their leaders, were thinking very deeply about what they wanted to do and whether or not they wanted to take those concessions.
Well, I'll say this. It caused so much fear that Iran got basically everything they want in this 2-week ceasefire.
Well, like I said, that actually benefits us in the long run. So
that's a great response.
I just don't want to be involved in that region anymore, you know, but
well,
Dennis,
I agree.
This next one is going to involve you directly. Barbara Jinx for $2 says, @Dennis, you look like my cousin if he was a girl.
Oh, that's nice. That's a callback to a joke I did many years ago in a roast battle. Thank you. That's an old school fan. That's how you know this person's been around for a minute. This joke is, I think, from like 4 or 5 years ago that I did that joke. So thank you for watching.
Awesome. Basil Problem, another $5 says, guys, Def Noodles has a lisp, but that doesn't make him a homosexual.
Oh, you're right. Straight men can have lisps. Apparently, I'm one of them.
Listen, I would say that Dennis, you're a really nice guy, and I think you look a little bit more like Ralph Macchio. That's just my personal opinion.
Brian,
No, I don't talk like that specifically. You got to put a New York accent through that lisp, okay, buddy?
You got to have some clip consciousness, man.
Hey, I do. You know, I wish I had that. You know, I knew that when I was debating Alex Stein at AmFest, and I said, Alex, I'm going to do an impersonation of you, and I used the microphone as him performing an act on Donald Trump. I knew that would be clipped, and it was, and I'm totally okay with it. It's totally fine. Let people have fun with it. It's all good.
All right. Basil Problem, another $5 says, modern day debate. Can you reference your peer review journal article based on your PhD? Thank you for your attention to this matter. He asks that every single time that I host on here.
I'm really disappointed because Dennis was, saying that they were tearing me up in the chat. And by the way, I'm not looking at the chat. Give me something that's mean. Like I haven't heard anything that's.
We'll get there.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
You know what? Ask and you shall receive. Andrew just sent $20 in and said, ask Brian if he has hair jealousy, and that's why he thinks I am a bad person.
Well, here's what I would be responding to Andrew and saying that I can't control what's on the top of my head, but Andrew can control his weight and his body size. He has the build of Roseanne Barr. So his smoking and his drinking and his alcohol addiction, he has some control over. I don't have mocking a man for something that he has no control over. By the way, there's a lot of women out there that think that being a bald, sexy man is, it's a good thing. So he should maybe try it sometime. But hey, I would take my girlfriend, but I mean, I would take a bald head.
Take you with hair or without hair?
She likes without hair. She likes a man that shaves his head. There's some women out there.
Were you bald when you met her?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
She doesn't know what you look like with hair.
No.
Seen your old pictures?
No. Oh, if she's seen pictures, sure.
Does she ever look at your pictures like longingly, like, oh, Brian? Yeah.
I've never really had that, but I will say there's a lot of Donald Trump supporters that look at Donald Trump's pictures that way before they go to sleep at night. I will say that.
You're not wrong. There are people that do that. And you know what they are? They're gay.
Cultist was the word that I was going to use.
Basil Problem for $5 says, hashtag a lisp does not make you a homosexual. Right, Noodles? This guy's just sending money to get it.
Dude, he's
across.
He's sending you money, bro.
Do me a favor. Yeah. Keep sending them money and asking this. So that
Go ahead.
I want to make them as much money as possible.
Yeah,
let's talking with an actual lisp here for you.
By the way,
it doesn't make you gay.
So Andrew Wilson's in the chat. It's like I was in his chat yesterday because somebody had texted me that he was talking about me randomly, but it's like I think I've been in his chat like twice. The guy follows me everywhere. It's like stalkish behavior. It's very strange. Very strange. By the way, Dennis, you got to watch that cartoon. It will make you laugh.
I have to watch it. I have it. I'll watch it afterwards, but it looks funny.
Jackal 15 said for $10 says, quote, "You're not tougher than me, okay? You're not smarter than me. I'm sure a lot of people tell you that you're really smart, but you're not smarter than me, okay?" Ben Shapiro. They probably got that confused. I think it's supposed to say Brian.
Yeah, I mean, Ben's a little weasel.
2026.
So I'm definitely not going to defend Ben Shapiro. I think he's a little weasel, and he's an embarrassment.
Related? The people want to know.
No, absolutely not. That little weasel. By the way, Israel could bomb every single country in the world, and Ben Shapiro would still find a way to defend Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a little weasel piece of garbage. A piece of garbage. So's Matt Walsh.
Brian,
all those people over there are terrible.
For you. And I think because you can help me since we kind of share some similar positions, you can help me understand this. But I've been relatively critical of Israel, of the state of Israel specifically, not the Israeli people. I think there's a difference between the government and the people.
Sure.
But isn't it interesting how in politics, and this has been something that's been going on for many years, but it's ramped up as of the last couple of years. You cannot criticize the state of Israel without being almost immediately labeled an anti-Semite.
It's bullshit.
Problem,
it's bullshit.
Right? That's a problem.
So Dennis, I'm glad you brought that up. It's such bullshit. So first
Mhm.
of all, I've admitted I was wrong on the air. A couple of years ago, I called Mehdi Hassan an anti-Semite. I'm sure you probably don't agree with his politics, but I admitted that I was wrong. And I said this on Pierce Morgan because I was asked about this. Just because you criticize the Israeli government absolutely does not mean you're anti-Semitic. And anybody who says that is a moron. I am pro-Israel, meaning I love the Israeli people. I think they're wonderful people. I've been to Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government are so corrupt. It's part of the reason why we went to war in Iraq. It's definitely a big reason why we went to war in Iran. I'm tired of handling their business. If they want to nuke Iran and they want to have a war with Iran, let them do it. We should not be a part of it. I think we agree on that. And I am not here to defend the Israeli government. I think it's just, I've changed my position in the last couple of years on it. And yeah, to answer your question, absolutely not
Would you be
anti-Semitic.
for cutting aid completely to Israel? All aid?
At this point,
And,
yes, Dennis. Yes.
and what about registering APAC under FARA?
I'd have to think a little bit more about that. I might have a more nuanced answer to that. But as far as your first question, absolutely. I am tired. You see, the war in Ukraine, and I know you didn't bring that up, but listen, if Iran had invaded Israel and started bombing Israel, Dennis, I would have a different position, right? But that wasn't happening. That wasn't happening. It's not to say that Iran didn't want to do that, but they didn't start this war. Okay, so I'm done with the Israeli government. I'm done with funding this war. I've had it, and I've
Yeah,
been
it's
pretty.
very strange too how we're like even as this war is playing out, there's no conversation about what's happening in southern Lebanon.
Yeah.
Israel's just bombing that place to hell. They're doing
Correct.
what they did in Gaza down there
Yeah.
under the justification
Yeah.
they're going after Hezbollah.
But Dennis, I've been very critical of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib as well. I think they're both despicable human beings. I think they're anti-Semitic. So, I don't think AOC is, but I'm critical of Democrats on my show almost every single day. Listen, Tlaib is an awful human being. Ilhan Omar is just awful. I think they're just terrible people. But I will say this. A couple of years ago, I would have said, yeah, the Democrat Party has an issue with anti-Semitism, but now there's a lot of groypers out there. You know what I'm talking about. They were all over at AmFest. I was talking to Michael Knowles about this. They were all over AmFest. You have a bunch of Myron Gaines types that are hanging out there as well. So now you guys also have an issue with anti-Semitism as well.
Well,
I think it's on both sides.
Here's the thing. I think the label Groyper is just getting, there's so much stuff that's being thrown into that label is just being loaded up, and it's being strategically used in the Republican Party right now to just purge people. It's not necessarily what it actually even initially was meant to be, right? It's just a watcher of Nick Fuentes. I don't think Myron Gaines is necessarily a Groyper. So to call him a Groyper is
he's an anti-Semite
who's critical of Israel, and yes, some of his opinions are pretty out there, and you can disagree or agree with him. He's an entertainer at the end of the day. He's not like somebody who's in party infrastructure, and I think it's really weird
Dennis,
people keep bringing him into policy discussions as though like
Myron
Gaines said this. I'm like,
let this
Dennis,
be the last response and keep it short, just because
I don't agree with that edgy stuff.
Quickly, I just want to say there's a difference between being critical of the Israeli government and being a Holocaust denier. Okay, there's a difference. He called me dreidel spinner. I've been called the K word. I'm not going to repeat it, not by Myron, but by one of his boys at a debate in Phoenix, and I wanted to knock him out. So I think there's a difference between being critical of Israel and then wearing a shirt, the type of shirt that Myron Gaines wore into AmFest, which I've talked to Jack Posobiec about, and Jack doesn't want him back.
All right.
So there's nothing wrong. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just to talk about that shirt, I don't think most people even knew the meaning of that shirt when he was walking around.
He did.
Well, he did, but I saw him. I took a picture with him moments before Jack Posobiec took that picture with him. I had no idea what that shirt meant.
Right, but Dennis, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but my point being is that Myron knew exactly what that shirt represented, and he wore it into AmFest. It's utterly despicable, and there should be no room for that in both parties. That's anti-Semitic, and it's awful. It's awful.
Let the man have his rage bait. Speaking of Israel, Even Lord 7825 for $5 says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, from the Siani to the Taurus Mountains, long live Israel. Brian, or he actually spelled brain, why don't you support your people in Israel? Which I think you just cleared that up.
That's a very stupid.
Yeah, you don't have to really get into that one.
Really stupid. First of all, I don't consider them my people. You know who my people are? My family and my friends. They might have the same religion I have, but it doesn't mean I'm going to defend them at odds end. But I do defend the Israeli people in general. I defend innocent people all over the world, just as the same as I would defend innocent people in Gaza, innocent Palestinians, innocent people in Iran that are dying. They're human beings, and I defend them.
Travis.
So no, I don't. Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say Travis Rice, 1745, would like you to defend yourself here for $5. He said, "Brian, why'd you scam that lady to pay to get your teeth fixed?"
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of idiots on social media that spread a lot of weird rumors about me. I will say this: and I've talked about this publicly, the last year and a half, 2 years of my show, I've had death threats, and as my show has become more popular, I've had a lot of people that said everything about me, from that I abuse women, to that I'm a rapist, to that I scam people out of money, to that somebody paid for my teeth. It's all a lie. I will say this: in regards to certain individuals, I've had to file restraining orders against people because they wouldn't leave me alone. There are people that literally put up screenshots that are fabricated screenshots of crazy things. I will also end the statement by saying this: I've never been arrested in my life. I've never been convicted or charged with a crime in my life. So all of these people on the right that want to spread these really bizarre and strange rumors about me, please keep it going. It helps me with engagement, and I greatly appreciate all of you, even though it's not true.
All right. Andrew Thrasher, 3519, sends $20 in. Thank you, Andrew Thrasher. This is not Andrew Wilson's alt.
That's good.
He says, "Good evening, modern day debate. Former senior airman Andrew Thrasher here. Brian, how do you criticize anyone without an ethical framework? How do you make any assertion without knowing the laws of logic? How, Brian? N1SB."
Yeah. So I think we have an Andrew Wilson fan, Andrew 2.0, who likes to get into ethical philosophy word games. That would be like me saying, well, you don't have a worldview. How can you say murder is bad? How can you say rape is bad? I don't get into conversations with these complete imbeciles out there. Again, that's an Andrew Wilson, Jay Dyer fan who wants to get into philosophical debates. What I debate people on is kind of like what we've done with Dennis, which I appreciate. We talk about policy. We talk about the presidency. We talk about things we agree or we might disagree with. So that guy can pleasure himself to his Donald Trump poster tonight before he goes to sleep. I'm not even interested in talking to people like that.
Fair enough. You ever listen to Jay Dyer's music?
No, I have listened to Tim Pool's music though, and I did debate Jay Dyer.
I've never listened to Tim Pool's music. I'd like to check that out.
It's actually pretty good. He's a good musician. It's actually pretty good. I debated Jay Dyer.
Decent. It's like, what is it, like emo?
Yeah. Dennis, have you done his show?
I have not done Tim Pool yet. No.
He rated me when I was hosting on here one time. That was
cool.
was the first time I ever got rated.
I'm supposed to be doing his show again in May. In fact, my friend David Pollock is doing his show Friday. Listen, I treat people the way they treat me, right? Tim Pool has been very nice to me, even though I disagree with his politics. His people have been very nice to me, so I'm going to treat them with respect.
He's like a fair guy, to be honest with you. He has people from all sides of it, the spectrum, and he just. It's honestly, it seems like it's a conversation, but he's not the kind of guy who will shy away from like challenging you if he sees something wrong.
Tim has some liberal ideology that people don't really know. I actually agree with him a lot of stuff. There's things I obviously disagree with him on. But my motto is I try to match people's energy, right?
Fair enough.
People are gonna,
let's match some speed right now. I got to get through these basal problem chats.
Nice pivot.
Yeah, he said for $5, reminder, goobers like Wi-Fi Gospel and others defended the state killing of Renee Good and Alex Pretty. I guess shout out Wi-Fi. You guys kind of touched on that a little bit in the debate, so let's get through this. ZXQ4295 for $5 says, how do you get evidence for something without an investigation?
How do you get evidence with something? What specific situation is he? I don't know what he's talking about.
I think that was probably actually in context of the ICE shooting.
Yeah, so in the Renee Good situation, they were about to investigate ballistics and blood spatter, and they actually stopped because Kash Patel told them to stop. I know people that were 20 feet away from that shooting, and they weren't even interviewed by the FBI. So there hasn't been a full investigation. In fact, Todd Blanche said there will be no investigation, which is disgusting. In any officer-involved shooting, I don't care what it is, there has to be an investigation. My understanding is there is one that's being conducted in the Alex Pretty situation, thank God. But Renee Good, they didn't have an autopsy. They didn't do ballistics. They didn't do any of that stuff, which obviously is necessary. and I find that absolutely disgusting.
Not even at the state level.
No, they Todd
no
Blanche has already
investigation. Nothing. So
no.
Tim Walz and Jacob
No.
Frey both didn't order any sort of investigation.
Because they blocked it, Dennis. They blocked it. They didn't allow them to investigate. They took the evidence. What they did was against the law, and then it was Kash Patel who told them to stop. They didn't do that in the Alex Preddy shooting, but they did do that in the Renee Good shooting, and that's why I think that Officer Jonathan Ross probably would have been found guilty. But we'll never know. Here's the difference, right? If there's an independent investigation and that independent investigation found that Officer Ross was in the right, then I would live with it. I've never called Kyle Rittenhouse a murderer. Do you want to know why? Because they found him not guilty in a court of law. Even though I think he's an idiot, I've never called him a murderer. All I've ever wanted was an independent investigation. Let's be fair about this. A woman is dead. That hasn't happened. I think it's disgusting.
Well, wouldn't that open up the state and the county and even the federal government to huge liability? Like her wife could just sue the hell out of...
She is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lawsuits, civil lawsuits, and she'll probably win. Listen, I just want people, to just, we should have had an independent investigation. Let's find out what really happened. We all saw the video. Everyone has different opinions on what should or shouldn't have happened. We know that he broke proper protocols. I've actually debated Myron Gaines on this, who was in law enforcement. He broke multiple protocols, but I try to be fair. I just want independent investigations into any officer involved shooting.
This is kind of related. She didn't send any money, but I just want to give it a quick read. Tiny Tina says, one, first rule of logic is don't go to a fight. The other guy has a gun. I just thought that was funny.
That's
just assume.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Anyways,
hit the gas if you got a cop standing right in front of you with a gun.
Yeah, we're not living in Nazi Germany. So just because somebody has a gun doesn't mean that gives them the right to shoot somebody.
Just immediately appeal to Hitlerium. Okay, I see it.
Yeah. Well, just because somebody has a gun, that's not a defense for what happened. I think we all could agree on that.
I mean, we can look at it in context, everything that happened. I mean, obviously not saying that she was asking for it, but the fact that she had been obstructing ICE operations all day. There's several reports. Even her wife said it. Her wife tells her to hit the gas. There's an ICE officer standing in front of a car.
But she shouldn't have been.
That's the last thing you want to do. Let's just look at common sense, right? That's hitting the gas when there's an officer in front of your car. That's the last thing you want to do. Can we agree on that?
I would agree on that, but I would also agree the last thing you should do if you're an ICE officer against proper protocol is walk behind the vehicle and then stop in front of the vehicle with a cell phone in one hand and a gun in the other. Can we also agree on that?
Well, he didn't actually stop. He was in the process of circling the front. There was another officer that's walking to the car to open the door, and her wife says, hit the gas, hit the gas.
Yeah. So there's a lot of protocols that were broken. First of all, it's not de-escalation. When Jonathan Ross started that video and she says, I'm not mad at you, dude, he could have started a conversation with her and said, ma'am, here's what we're going to need you to do. We're going to need you to get out of the car. If you don't get out of the car, we're going to arrest you. Do I wish Renee Good got out of the car? Absolutely. Do I wish she didn't try to leave? Absolutely. But that doesn't necessarily mean it justified shooting her in the face several times. And that's why I want an independent investigation.
Well, the rules of engagement in that sense, and I'm obviously, I don't want her to get shot. I'm in the same boat as you. But if we look at this legally, the rules of engagement, if you are under suspicion that if as a police officer that your life is threatened by a weapon, especially a vehicle being considered a weapon.
This is definitely something. If you guys want to get another debate set up, I could do that. Just email me and we'll do that because this could spiral into a long thing there.
Go ahead.
Rob Skywalker for $10 says, to all you Trump supporters and Andrew Wilson fans who disagree with Brian, call into his show and make your stance. You're tough in the chat, but you'll never call in.
It is such a great point. Dennis, I don't know if you're aware of this, but on my show every day, I open up the phone lines for an hour and a half to everybody. In fact, I would rather have people call into my show that disagree with me. I have more people on the right that I have as guests on my show than people on the left. I've debated Caroline Leavitt, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., so that's a really good point that guy made. For all the tough guys that are on the chat, they don't have the balls to call into my show and actually have a conversation with me. So
did you mention it's a conservative podcast?
It's good. It's good to have dialogue with people you disagree with because that's really. I abide by the iron sharpens iron thing. So
James, I'm sorry to cut you off. James, I'm sorry. What did you say? Did you say?
No, my name's Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Mike, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, brother.
It's all good.
I saw that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm
Um,
Timu James, according to the chat.
Got you.
But
Got you.
related to your or me saying that we could turn that into another debate, Alexander Medeiros said you already ran from a debate on ice with me, but I would gladly school you on both the Renee Good and Alex Pretty situation.
Who are you talking about? Who is
That's
this guy? Who are
Wi-Fi
you talking about?
Gospel.
Okay, I don't debate random people and people that don't
No,
don't
he's
know who the hell they are.
he is
You just asked
a
him to
regular
call in right
debater.
now.
Okay, but hold on. There's a difference between somebody calling into my radio show and then actually scheduling an actual long form debate, Dennis, like you and I are having.
Wait, but people are saying in the chat, you mute and don't let anyone talk.
Yeah, anybody could listen to my show and say that's absolutely not true. What I do is when I pod people down and mute people is when they mischaracterize things that I say things that are completely stupid, and they interrupting me and they're not letting me respond. I open up my phone lines to anybody that would like to call in. If they're respectful to me, I'm going to be respectful to them. And if they don't like that, then don't call in. But I'm just saying I open up my phone lines every day to everybody. And that's an excuse for people not to call into my show because they're probably don't have the brain capacity to have a conversation with me. And that's okay. Everybody's created differently.
This other guy who sent $10 in from California, I'm not your buddy guy, 9713. You could consider this like a call-in, but it's a comment in. He says, question for Shapiro. Why do you always manipulate the truth? Do you not have a conscience? Are you intellectually challenged, or are you so blinded by your hatred that you refuse to see the truth?
Sure. So here's what I would respond if that guy called into my show and I would say, okay, how have I manipulated the truth? Notice how he didn't give one specific example. So if you're going to say I'm a liar, which by the way, I don't mind if people say that, but I would ask you next, what did I lie about? What specifically did I say to quote unquote manipulate the truth? And this is probably the same MAGA clown and the MAGA cuck who thinks Donald Trump won the 2020 election. But that's beside the point. So I'll call him MAGA cuck. Hey, MAGA cuck, be specific. What did I say in this debate that was manipulating the truth? Let's see what he says. I'll give him the opportunity. He probably won't, though, because he's a moron.
We'll give him a second comment for free if I see his comment here.
Sounds good. Can we call him MAGA cuck? Is that okay?
I won't, but that's because I'm trying to stay somewhat neutral here in terms of the chat.
Fair.
I can't take sides on the chat.
May I say you've also done a very, very good job. Much better than that douchebag Jake Rattlesnake, by the way.
I
just had to
appreciate
throw that
the compliment. Jake, I think Jake will be at DebateCon if you want to debate him.
Yeah.
Maybe
that
James
guy's
could
the biggest,
set that up.
The biggest clown on the. By the way, I'll be happy to debate Jake. Happy to.
Okay, we'll get that on the record. Next comment here is. Oh, I don't want to skip any. Okay. Truth Revolt TV for $5 says, Brian, admit it. You didn't vote for her because she isn't YT.
What?
What
is he talking about?
That's the YouTube slang for WHITE to not get, I guess, your comment blocked.
I voted for Kamala Harris. I don't know what he's talking about.
He must have been mistaken.
I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. And the reason why I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton is because I'm not a fan of the Clintons. I never have been. I look back on it. I made a terrible mistake, and I own that. I have no problem with a woman becoming president of the United States. If you want to talk about people that have a problem with women, maybe you should talk to Donald Trump, who just fired Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem, and now word is he's going to be firing Tulsi Gabbard. So if there's anybody that has a problem with women, I think it's Donald Trump, who's in a contractual marriage, who's cheated on every woman he's ever been with. And I think last time he actually was sleeping in the same bed with Melania is when they conceived Barron. So maybe he should focus on the president.
Hello.
Yeah.
We got you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I had a small audio issue. I think it popped out, but I'm back in.
Yeah, you froze up for a second, but you're back.
We got you.
Okay, next comment here. This one is, I guess, to both of you. FRM Pukin for $10 says, if M1 Abrams tank hits 50 miles an hour, how fast are the tracks going off the ground versus the ones on the ground? This is really important. I want answers from both of you.
I don't even. I don't know, Dennis. Are you a physicist? I don't know.
No, I don't think I'm equipped to answer this question.
Neither am I. Neither am I. That makes two of us.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine. We'll move on. It's disappointing.
Great question, by the way. You sound like a smart guy.
Very much on topic too, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Craftsman Ethos for $20. Thank you, Craftsman. He says, Brian, my concern by your fetishizing women glorifying being in the space of many women in hot tubs is that you fetishized Kamala. How do you separate your political choice in fetishizing a black woman's run as president?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't fetishize. Is that even a word? I didn't even know if that was a word.
It's the verb of.
Yeah, I think the thing that a lot of people are very jealous about, these are, and I hate to bring it back to Andrew Wilson, but that's why he's referencing a hot tub. I said Andrew needs to get out a little bit more and have a little bit of fun because it seems like he's backed up. And I was in San Diego last week hanging out with some friends of mine, some female friends of mine.
Andrew.
Yeah, and I sent him some pictures. One of my really good friends, she's beautiful. Her name is Nicole, and she had a birthday party in San Diego, and there were some attractive ladies that were there. Andrew seemed to be very upset at that, and he called them all hookers. And I think he was very upset at some of the pictures I sent him, and I think some of his cult followers. I would also say I think the people that have a fetish are the people that suffer from not Trump derangement syndrome, but I think the person who just made that statement suffers from a disease called Trump fellatio syndrome. So I would hope that he would get off his knees, wipe his mouth, put away his Trump knee pads before he goes to bed if we're talking about fetishes. But thank you, sir, for calling me out for hanging out with attractive women. It's a terrible thing to do. Thank you, sir.
Got him. Dennis, I assume you have nothing to say on that, so I'm just going to go ahead and read the next one.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out my audio issue here. I have an audio issue on my.
You sound
screen.
fine.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
I can hear
yours.
you fine, but
Well, I was able to pop back in here, but now my stream can't hear anything, so I'm trying to figure that one out.
I see.
I had to turn my stream off, and I'm beginning to think it might have been they're angry at me. It might have been because I was having some issues with my microphone, but that's all good. It's fine.
Okay, I'm trying not to.
Give me some mean ones, man.
Yeah,
These were
okay.
too nice.
That last one was a little mean.
Not really.
I
He's
mean-
making fun of me for hanging out with attractive women in a hot tub. I think that's. Thank you. That actually makes me look good, not bad. I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
Basil
Dennis,
Problem.
Is that a bad thing?
Basil
I don't know.
Problem appreciates you. He says for $5, Brian, great job. Jackal15 for $2 says I can hear Andrew laughing and I'm in Australia. Kevin Delavaria for $5 says, Brian, what's your proof that Richard Simmons is a homosexual? Using stereotypes would be bigoted, by the way.
Sure. So I never use stereotypes in talking about Richard Simmons. That conversation came up because I believe that being gay is not a choice. The reason why I brought up Richard Simmons, and I spoke about this on my show, is because when Richard Simmons did multiple interviews with Howard Stern, he admitted he had never been with a woman. He admitted he wasn't attracted to women, and he made some very strange and awkward faces when Howard Stern talked about parts of the female body. Richard Simmons was not attracted to women. That's not a stereotype. I didn't talk about the clothes that he wore. I didn't talk about his lisp or anything else. I talked directly about the comments he made on the Howard Stern show. So there you have another very ill-informed statement, but I'm glad he's donating to you because even stupid people have money.
Well, Red Fox 11 sent 50 to say, what evidence do you have that Richard Simmons was homosexual?
I just told you.
Well,
When somebody goes on a national show and says, I'm not attracted to women, usually that's evidence to say, I'm probably attracted to the other sex. I don't know. Do you have to be Albert Einstein to connect the two? Sir, he said he's not attracted to women on a national show. He's never been with a woman before. I mean, I guess you could make the case he might be asexual. I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? I mean, give me a break. I'm glad he donated money to you.
Red
though. I'm
Fox,
glad.
big thanks for the 50, man.
Yeah.
Trying to hold his feet to the fire here. Brian, what?
Yeah.
Will that stand up in court if we put you on the prosecutory bench?
Never has anybody been in court and been charged with being gay.
Well,
so
just
I don't
imagine.
think that would ever
Just
happen.
imagine it. Like, do you think your evidence would
Yes.
hold up? That's what I guess this guy is really trying to get at.
Yes, absolutely, because there's no evidence that he's ever dated a woman before. There's no evidence, and he admitted that he's never been physically with a woman before. And there's also evidence that what the statements that he made on the Howard Stern show. So yes, I do think if we had to prove if Richard Simmons was gay or not. We can probably find some witnesses out there too that have probably been with Richard Simmons. By the way, I don't see anything wrong with being gay. Very weird statement that he brings that up in this conversation, but I'm glad we have a fan of my show, because a guy called into my show last week and we actually had this conversation. So I'm glad people are watching. Thank you, sir, for the engagement.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate everyone getting in here and asking questions. Alex Medeiros, this is Wi-Fi Gospel, the gentleman who claims you dodged a debate on the Alex Preddy, Renee Good situation, which if you're down, we can always set that up. No worries. Brian, if someone is a former drug addict and they tell people not to do drugs, are they a hypocrite?
Boy, what a stupid comment. What an absolutely stupid comment. If somebody did drugs and they cleaned themselves up and they told people not to do drugs, are they a hypocrite? That has nothing to do with religion, and that has nothing to do, that's actually something that would harm you and could kill you. When we're talking about Rachel Wilson and religion, I've never said that it's wrong to have baby daddies. I've never said it's wrong to have multiple dads. I've never made that case. And to compare that to drug addiction is probably the dumbest analogy I've ever heard in my life. And I don't even think you're.
Wait, you're not actually being honest about you said she was a fake Christian because of that.
Yes, correct. Because when you go
How does
by
that make her a fake Christian, what theologically, what has Christ said that makes her a fake Christian?
Well, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but I've actually had some conversations with plenty of Christians out there that have told me that a basic traditional Christian woman is not somebody that has multiple baby daddies. In fact, it's otherwise to that. And let me be very clear on this.
Well, according to what? According to what are you basing?
Am I wrong?
Is this?
Oh, tell me. You're a Christian. Am I wrong?
Actual words, or is this according to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, or is this according to?
You tell me. You tell me. Is that categorically false? What I am saying?
No, I want to understand where you're coming from. What specific theological backing do you have to make this claim?
So as I've said, there are plenty of friends in my life that are Christians, and I trust their. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian. I've been pretty evident on that. And what they have told me, and you could tell me whether they're wrong or not, I tend to trust them, is that for the most part, the statements that I've heard is that normally a traditional Christian woman does not have multiple baby daddies in their life. And the reason why I bring this up is because Rachel does, and it's against it. Now, if you think that's wrong,
what's this archetype that
well,
you're
tell
building?
me, is it universally okay and accepted? You tell me. Are they wrong? Are my friends wrong?
Are you judging her morally or theologically? I'm trying to understand. This is according to your own moral understanding of Christianity, or anecdotal conversations with specific Christians that we don't even know what denominations or they're from.
I'm asking you.
What theological backing do you have to say that she's a fake Christian?
Theological standards, you tell me. I'm asking you. Is that wrong?
You're making the claim. You're supposed to have the actual theological backing to your
my understanding. And I'm telling you that my understanding.
You don't even understand why you're calling her a fake Christian.
Let me reel it back for a second and just clarify what the original question was. Is if someone's a former drug addict and they tell people not to do drugs, are they a hypocrite? So as in, like, let's say I used to do X, Y, Z, and then I'm like, okay.
No, absolutely not.
Well, that's what I think everyone's trying to relate to the second half of the conversation.
And it's a terrible analogy. I mean, people that killed someone on the road that are drunk drivers that have classes and go around part of their probation.
But they should still tell people not to do it.
Right. Of course, that's my point. That's my point. But she's not going around telling people not to have baby daddies and multiple babies. She's not doing that. So that's why it'd be one thing if she said, hey, don't make the same mistakes I made. By the way, I don't even necessarily
Chat is saying baby daddies are men who are father to a woman's child and did not have a formal relationship. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
Okay, so that's that's just a difference in definition and why you're coming to that conclusion versus maybe what Dennis would come to. Dennis, what's your definition of baby daddy?
His argument doesn't stand up to basic scrutiny. It's actually hilarious to see him. He is not Christian. He has no understanding of Christian theology, and he's actually out here casting stones without understanding, just basic Christian principles. He's actually trying to define somebody as something they're not, purely based on his own warped understanding, his own anecdotal conversations.
So
it's just, look,
if
dude,
you Google,
it is beyond retarded. Like what you're saying right now,
It's not.
like,
It's not. It's not
actually
beyond.
anti-Christian. It's
It's
antichrist. It's
it's
straight
not.
from the synagogue of Satan.
No, it's not.
Really, that's what
So
it
first
is.
of all, there's nothing retarded about what I'm saying. Number one. Number two, I'm trying to convince, and I'm not even really. It's not even really convincing. It's what she does is she goes around and she tells other women how they should live their lives. Now, if you do a simple Google search,
Can I just
hold on.
If
you do, hold on.
Most Christians, most discerning Christians, wouldn't go around saying you're a fake Christian because you don't know anybody. You don't know what that person's relationship is with Christ. Okay, one of the ways to be saved through Christ is to accept Christ and believe in the resurrection. Christ doesn't have an elaborate rule book. Obviously, there are things that he gets asked.
So if I told you,
I
told you I have a relationship,
but what you're attributing to all of this is your own warped understanding of what Christianity is.
No, you're totally.
I asked you, according to what? What are you basing your opinion on? You don't have a single answer
so
for that.
I'll make it easier for you. And by the way, if I told you I had a relationship with Christ, does that mean I'm a good Christian? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's retarded, as you would say.
I mean,
but let me make it very
between you and your creator. If you're going around and lying about
that's
it, you
that's
will
you.
be judged on it. Do you understand?
Okay.
The
yeah. Well,
judgment is going to come from me. It's going to come from Christ.
Fine. That's fine. I judge people all the time. If you don't want to judge people, go right ahead. You've judged Kamala Harris. You've judged a lot of people in this conversation.
No, well, we got a judgment against you, Brian, from senior cap airman guy.
It's different discussing policy versus dishing out elaborate.
What would you say? What would you say to MAGA?
You don't even fully understand and have nothing to back up.
Based on that, what would you say about Republicans who have called Kamala Harris a whore that slept her way to the top?
Is there evidence that she's actually done that? Do you believe that she slept with Willie Brown?
What would you say about
No. I'm actually asking you questions so that I can base on reality. Do you believe that she slept with Willie Brown?
I don't know, but even if she did, that doesn't mean he helped her get to attorney general and vice president.
I think the evidence there would be much akin to the Richard Simmons evidence.
And he did put her into this Democrat machine that helped her get all the votes that she needed in order to become attorney general.
So you believe that Kamala Harris slept her way to the top?
I never said that. That's a straw man. What I said.
It's not a straw man. You're not answering my question.
I never said anything about sleeping. Anything about sleeping with him, that's you jumping to conclusions and purposely mishearing or just.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question, Dennis, and you didn't answer it.
Help. He was one of the most influential people. In fact, Gavin Newsom is on the record saying that he not only helped her, but he helped him get his first job as board of supervisor out of San Francisco. So he had an exorbitant amount of influence in the state. And he very much helped her get the position that she got.
Right.
So well, whether or not she slept with him, I am not informed enough to know whether or not
that was my. So that was my.
And I'm not going to make that claim. Now, if
that was my original.
Now, if she was. Here's the thing. If she was, in fact, doing that just purely speculatively, if she was going around giving head to sexual favors to move up, if she was engaging in hypergamy, then it's so it is whorish behavior by definition, right? Hypergamy is whorish behavior, exchanging sexual favors in in exchange for some sort of professional gain, or be it, monetarily, financially, you're getting paid immediately, or you're moving forward in your career. That is a prostitute type behavior, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if she did that or not. Obviously, this is speculative.
That was my original question.
Whether or not she did it, it's not for me to decide.
Dennis, I hate to cut you off here. I hate to cut you off, brother.
Was a prostitute, was a known prostitute, engaged in several sorts of sexual immorality, and she was still saved through Christ. So that's not your past sins. Don't define you as long as you actually accept Christ and choose to walk that straight and narrow.
So
that's what you're missing about Christian theology.
Put a little bow on the if you're extra addict question from Wi-Fi Gospel, which we do appreciate. That was a spirited question. It did rile some things up. But we do have another comment, another $20. Thank you so much, Mr. Thrasher, former senior airman. I do want to give the respect there. I messed up his title earlier. He said, Brian, it seems like you're pretty jealous of the great Mr. Wilson. Have you been on Joe Rogan? I don't think so. Stop being so angry that you keep getting mercilessly defeated by the Wilsons. Do better, better in 1SB.
Yeah. So again, I go back to what I said earlier. I could care less what Andrew Wilson fans think of me. In fact, I think it's hilarious and I think it's funny. Again, as I said before, his opinion or anybody that's on Andrew Wilson's side as their fans, their opinion means about as much to me as my last bathroom visit. I could care less what this idiot thinks.
This is
It means absolutely nothing
that's
to
a
me.
super relevant response because
You know-
FB. Well, real quick, Dennis, let me read this one and you can do your response because I want to knock these out. I don't mind going as long as you guys have time for it, but I do want to be expedient with them so that people don't send the money and are waiting for an hour to hear a response.
Okay.
So FBNW8PP sends $20. Thank you so much, FB. He said, Brian Shapiro says he doesn't care how people feel about him. Good, because the feeling is mutual. He platforms people who say a murdered firefighter, quote, had it coming, and won't even condemn mocking a grieving widow. Spineless.
Okay, so that's a lie, and I will respond to that from another imbecile. First of all, the day that Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered, and by the way, I was not a fan of Charlie Kirk, thought he was a bad guy. But the day he was murdered, I was live on the air, and I got emotional. And I was the first person, at least probably on the left, leaning to the left, that called it out, and it was horrible what happened to him. He didn't deserve it. It was terrible, and I hope Tyler Robinson goes to jail for the rest of his life. So that's a blatant lie. Now, just because I won't celebrate his life doesn't mean that I celebrated his death, which, by the way, I never did, and it was awful, and it was terrible for the country. So for that guy to make a statement like that, it's completely untrue. If he's referring to Destiny, because I think that's who he's referring to, I don't agree with Destiny on a lot of different things. But if talking about platforming people, if Nick Fuentes called me today and said, Brian, I want to do your show, I would have him on. I debate people that I think are sometimes that I think are terrible people. This is where I will defend Tucker Carlson and disagree with Ben Shapiro. Now, I think Tucker Carlson didn't give him a good fight and didn't challenge him enough, but I don't have a problem with people that are, controversial people, for example. I'll interview them until the cows come home. I mean, if I had the opportunity to interview O.J. Simpson when he was alive, I would have done that as well. So
let me cut in real quick,
that.
and you can keep going because this is related and from the same chatter.
Yep.
FB sent another $20. Thank you, FB-NW8PP. I'll read your whole password as your screen name, I guess. Sends another 20. Thank you. On Piers Morgan, someone sent vile images to Erica Kirk mocking her loss. Piers called it out. Brian Shapiro stays silent. No pushback, no backbone. If a coward like that doesn't like you, you're probably on the right side.
I guess some people could say things about me that are completely not true. That person who's making that statement, complete lie. Tell me what episode that was. Tell me exactly when that happened. I have been 100% consistent on the murder of Charlie Kirk. I said it to Andrew and Jack Posobiec at the headquarters the other day. I said it the day he died. I say it every day. Anybody who has celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, I think that's wrong. But the people on the right who have also said elected Democrats have celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk are also lying. There's not one elected Democrat that celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. I refuse to celebrate his life. That doesn't mean that I celebrated his death. So that person who made that statement is completely lying. I remember every appearance I've made on Piers Morgan. The first thing I did was call out what happened to him, which was awful. And I have been extremely consistent on that. With that being said, I disagreed with a lot of what Charlie Kirk stood for. I thought he was a bad guy. But what happened to him was horrible, and he didn't deserve that. And everybody should call it out. Just like everybody should call out Donald Trump and the Rob Reiner comments that he made.
On that point, I mean, it's evident that there's a difference culturally on how the right and the left deal with this. I mean,
really?
I mean, the amount of TikToks that were available when Charlie got killed that people posted, it basically became people are on the streets celebrating
Let's
this.
talk about that.
Clearly,
Let's talk about that.
Clearly, the left has a bloodlust.
That's a joke.
I'm going to give you that.
That's a joke.
Trump with the Rob Reiner thing, he's petty. He will tweet some petty things that obviously most Republicans do not condone.
So what's more important, the president of the United States or some idiots on social media that say horrible things that I don't condone?
If there are thousands of people that are actively posting.
What about the Paul Pelosi? What about the Paul?
Let me finish my point. You asked me a question, you don't let me finish. If there are thousands of thousands, if your entire base is basically celebrating that a right-wing figure got assassinated assassinated.
true.
And then you have the president, and most people you have to get Scott Bessent to go out there and defend the president because nobody else will defend those kinds of
That
statements.
is
The president.
what you just
In
said
fact,
is wrong.
Most Republicans nowadays, you have Tucker Carlson saying that the president is the Antichrist. That's how far Republicans
Dennis,
will go to criticize.
Dennis.
But on the left, you see the problem. This guy's
Dennis,
going to go
you're wrong.
and defend people in his own base right now because
Dennis.
people who will openly he will stand here and grandstand about how moral he is. That he just had a human moment like everybody else that day and recognize how far the country has gone. But he will not attack his own base over their lack of moral integrity.
You're talking about me?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, you're wrong again.
Do you disavow the left?
Are you going to let me answer? Because this pisses me off.
Do you disavow
First
the
of
left?
all,
That's all I want to know.
Are you going to let me answer the fucking question? Dude, just shut up and let me answer.
Just
I've
disavow
said
left.
on the
Come on.
All right, Dennis.
Are you-
Just let him
are you
get it
done?
out. Let him get it out. I got more chats to
go
get
ahead.
through.
I don't appreciate people that lie, and you're lying. So
I'm
I've
lying.
said
okay, sure.
Are you going to let me finish? On the air, I've said time and time again, anybody who has celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, you deserve to lose your job. It's stupid because you represent a country and it's wrong. On the flip side of things, I've also said, look at what happened to Paul Pelosi. I'm going to put Charlie Kirk in that. Now, I'm not a Nancy Pelosi, Paul Pelosi fan. He was almost killed. There were people on the right that are actual elected officials. Notice how Dennis can't name one elected official that celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk because it didn't happen. Ted Cruz, Matt Gaetz, and others. And Don Trump Jr. made jokes and laughed about what happened to Paul Pelosi. Donald Trump also did that as well. So if you want to talk, and by the way, it's not the Democrat base. You're fucking lying when you say that. There are random people on social media that said some horrible things, which now I've said 10 times on this show, and I don't defend any violence, political violence, whether it's from the right or the left. So for you to say that I am defending people that are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk,
I
you're
never said
fucking
you
lying.
defending them. I said you won't disavow them. In fact,
What did
have
I
not
just say?
disavowed your base.
What did I just say? What did I just say?
You tried to placate. You tried to separate the Democrat base from these people who are doing this. Very clearly, it is part of the Democrat base. These people are leftists. They're part of your coalition, and you're avoiding calling out your coalition. In fact,
okay, so
you're
I'm not sure.
Trying to change
All right,
the subject. You're pivoting.
Dennis.
Well, this
Dennis,
is not changing.
Dennis,
like almost a decade ago to Paul Pelosi.
Dennis,
Real quick,
Dennis,
Brian,
Dennis
I'll let
struggles to
you give that
Okay.
same response, but this is from the same chatter, FB-NW8PP. He sends another $10. Thank you, sir. He said Charlie Kirk had no control since he is dead and not in a position to defend his widow. Yet Brian Shapiro could control speaking out. That guy on Pierce Morgan sending those nasty photos. He didn't.
Okay, again, that's another lie. I'm not even going to address that because that never happened.
All right, well, I'm just going to get this next one out real
yeah,
quick because it's $2. Justin OMG for $2 says Brian wears tampons
Yeah.
for fun.
Okay,
Anyways,
that's a very intelligent statement to make. I think that might be his
you
fetish.
asked
Sorry
for it,
if
bro. You asked for it.
My
I know,
God,
but
dude.
you have to be a little creative with your insults. Again, going back, I'm going to speak very slowly and distinctly, so hopefully Dennis can understand what I'm about to say. As I've said before, and I say again,
you can just stick to the topic. Okay, you don't have to be a dick about it.
The reason why I'm being a dick is because you're being a dick.
How
As
am I
I've
being
said
a dick?
before, I'm going to explain why.
The truth now
I've
is being
said
a dick.
unequivocally, anybody, whether it be the Charlie Kirk murder or any sort of political violence, who endorses it or is joyous about it, I've called it out on the air. I've said these people deserve to be fired. I think it's reprehensible. It's something that I would never do. So for you to sit there and say that I'm somehow not calling it out, as I've now done 10 times in the last 5 minutes.
I didn't. That's not what I said. I said you won't disavow the left.
I
and you
disavow.
haven't disavowed.
I disavow.
I
Okay,
disavow the left.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it again for the 11th time. I disavow anybody who doesn't call out and celebrates any form of political violence in any way.
This is endemic to your side of the aisle. You have people like Hassan Piker. You have people like Destiny. People that are.
What did Destiny say? What did he say? What did he say? What did Destiny say?
I got a chat relevant to Destiny here. Just a sec. Dennis, go ahead.
Just disavow.
What did he say?
Disavow the left.
What did Destiny say, Dennis? Dennis doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
I don't know the exact quote.
Of course you don't, because you have no. You're being a clown. You have no idea what you're talking about.
How am I being a clown?
I will tell you what Destiny said. I will tell you what Destiny said because you're making claims.
Completely lost.
Because you're making. Yeah, I lost. You're making claims and you don't know what you're talking about.
What did Destiny say?
I will tell you, you're talking
Tell
about
me.
something and you have no idea what you're talking about. What he said is, why should I have to call it out? By the way, he has called it out, but he said on Piers Morgan, why should I have to call it
I'm
out?
talking about the
when
stream the day that Charlie got killed, not on Piers Morgan.
Why should I have to call it out when Donald Trump doesn't call out political violence? Now, I've had personal conversations with Destiny about this, and I don't agree with the words that he used that day. I don't speak for Destiny. I speak for myself. And I've said now for the 12th time, what happened to him is horrible. I wish it didn't happen. It's horrible for the country. It's horrible for both parties. And while I didn't like the man and I don't like what he stood for, he did not deserve to be murdered. I've said that pretty much every day since the guy was murdered.
Let me just get this
so I'm
out.
not sure what else you want me to say.
Let me get this out real quick, just because I think Mr.
But yet
Sean
you won't.
Atchinson's been waiting.
But yet Dennis won't call out the people who beat cops on January 6th. You're such a
chat
fucking
is actually
hypocrite.
saying what you won't say. He said, Destiny yelled, "Fuck yeah, one less Trump supporter." So I mean, he said that as Charlie was killed. You're misframing the conversation. You're going to a Piers Morgan comment that
I would
happened
like
much
to see.
later.
So where's that comment?
Live.
Let's play it.
Destiny was live when Charlie got assassinated.
Let's play it.
That's the comment that I'm referring to.
All right, before we do that, I do. I
you disavow Hassan Piker and the left. This is endemic to your side.
I don't have that clip.
Someone
could send that clip, and I'll let them screen share if you guys want to get into that. But real quick, Sean Atchison 214 said for $5. Thank you, Sean. Before Noodle's audio cut out, Brian had a fanboy dox me in chat. What does Brian think about that? Not the Destiny approach. Or maybe you want to clarify what your last sentence was, or is it saying that's the Destiny approach?
I don't know what he's
Sean.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Well,
no
Sean,
idea.
Is that your first and last name as your screen name? Like no.
I don't know what he's saying. I don't.
He's
I
saying
don't
one of your fans doxed him in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I guess that's my fault. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, dude, be better.
What a snowflake. What a snowflake.
Another $10 from Red Fox. Appreciate you, Red Fox. You're a great guy. Do that. He said, Brian, do you know what the laws of logic are? Just list them.
Sounds like we have another Andrew Wilson fan who can go fuck himself.
He actually just sent another $20 just now as I read that one. Thank you, Red Fox. Brian, was the 2016 election stolen? I'm sick of you defending Donald Trump.
Absolutely not.
And attacking Australians. That just confused the crap out of me there.
Oh, look. Here, let me hear this.
You want to...
And vehicle traffic.
God, it'd be so horrible if like a final fundraiser Turning Point could like sell, like, I went to Charlie Kirk's last event and survived shirts or whatever. I'm just kidding. That would be horrible. That's not good.
That's right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I heard that.
You guys heard that?
I believe so.
You heard that Destiny clip?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Brian, were you able to hear that?
I think Brian's muted.
Sorry, guys. That was my microphone. That was my bad. No, I did not hear the clip that you played.
Okay, let me play it again. So this is a clip.
And vehicle traffic.
God, it'd be so horrible if like a final fundraiser Turning Point could like sell, like, I went to Charlie Kirk's last event and survived shirts or whatever. I'm just kidding. That would be horrible. That's not good.
Okay, so you just said he was happy that Charlie Kirk was killed. That's not what I heard in that clip.
I mean, he's clearly treating it with levity.
That's not what you just claimed he said. That's not the quote.
First off, I didn't say he was happy. I said he was joking about it. I said that the left was joking. That was what I said. Now you just totally misframed what I said. That's just one of the comments. There were at least 3 or 4 other clips of his of him saying jokes of that manner.
Okay, but that's not what you claimed. But that's not what you claimed he said. I asked you to find that clip.
No, I read it. I read it from the chat. Obviously, I read it from the chat. I'm looking for the clips.
And the people in the chat seem to be very factually accurate with what they're saying. So that's a very good source to go by, Dennis. Very intelligent.
Well, I just played a clip. Respond to that clip that I played.
Play it. Do me a favor. Play it. Play it one more time for me.
You're out here grandstanding, but you won't respond to the clip. You think it's okay to just deal with levity. A guy just got shot in the neck, got murdered in front of his whole family.
I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's.
Instead of disavowing your own side. Disavowing violence that comes from your own side.
Okay.
No,
so as I've said,
no. You're like just.
Yeah.
You're just
From the-
splitting
from the-
hairs over it.
Right. From the guy who thinks that it's okay to call people hostages and patriots who beat cops. I'm going to say it again. Now, this is the 13th time.
When did I say that?
Yeah, you have not admitted that police
I have
officers were
not
beaten on
you're
January
not
6th.
Putting words in my
Um,
mouth.
Yeah,
You're so
that's what you
unbelievably
did.
dishonest.
You
You're so
can
foreign.
rewind. You can rewind. Don't talk to me about being dishonest.
I do.
As I've said before, and hold on, let me just repeat again
Go
because
ahead.
Dennis is struggling to understand or comprehend English. I don't agree with some of the things that Destiny has said. I don't think there's anything funny about murder. And by the way, Charlie Kirk, the day after, and I talked about this on the Tim Pool show, the day after Nancy Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer, Dennis, I'm sure you're probably unaware of this. Charlie Kirk was making jokes about it, and he was asking for his listeners to bail out the guy who attempted to murder Paul Pelosi.
So
But
now
I'm
you're
sure you
telling
have.
me that. So now you're telling me that one egregious behavior justifies.
No, they're both
that man
wrong.
being
They're
shot
both
in the
wrong.
neck
No, they're
and
both
then
wrong.
being made fun of. That's what you're saying.
I don't think murder is funny in any way, shape, or form, or attempted
Okay,
murder.
because that's what you were just implying. By the way,
really?
I have another clip. Here, let's.
How did I imply that?
this other
How did I
clip.
imply that, Dennis?
Let's
You
play
want,
this
how did I
other
imply that,
Destiny
Dennis?
clip from that day. Let's
Oh,
play this.
so-
You want to hear it?
so-
Let's play it.
Before you
so-
play it, let me get this one that I've been sitting on for a second out of the way. You don't have to respond to it, but if you do want to, very briefly, because we're getting bigger super chats now. This one's for $5 from Even Lord. Brain, I sympathize with your blonde strawberry beard. I respect you for being a decent guy. Do you think it's okay to be bigoted about religion? And then we got a Alex Pretty question after that, and Renee Good.
What have I? You'd have to be a little bit more specific on a specific statement that is bigoted. I think everybody has the right to have their own religion. You can believe in the tooth fairy if you want to. I'm not a very religious person. I haven't said anything that's bigoted. I've personally gone after a few people that I think are very bad people. I haven't said anything bigoted. So again, it's like 10 minutes ago when a guy said I was lying. And then if you notice in the chat, he wasn't specific about anything that I lied about. And now Dennis wants to turn this conversation into all the comments that Destiny has said that he wants me to
claim. I'm just holding you to. I'm holding you.
No. You gave me a quote.
Here's the
I
thing,
told you it
Brian.
was inaccurate.
If you can't take the heat, then don't make the claim.
No, we can make this about Destiny if you want to.
No, I'm not making this about Destiny. You made a specific claim. You refuse to disavow the left. You refuse to disavow Hassan Piker and Destiny. And now you're sitting here acting like, oh, he's trying to make this about Destiny. You made specific claims that Destiny never said this stuff. And now you're out here.
Yes,
now you're crying about it. It is
Here's a
actually
direct. I'm
hilarious
not crying
to
about it.
witness
No,
this
it's
meltdown.
I'm
Your
not.
face
I'm not.
is red.
I'm
You
not
look
crying
like
about
a little
anything.
leprechaun. It is
Again,
crazy.
you're the one who doesn't like ad hominem attacks with your slick hair. By the way, you have no chance of winning the election, Dennis. So if you want to get personal with me, you have no chance of winning the election. Zero chance. You're going to get 2% of the
Brian,
vote.
You want to make a bet?
You're going to get 2% of the vote. You have no chance.
You
You're
guys,
a clown.
you guys
have
can
no
make that
chance to
bet
win.
if you
Let's
want,
make a
Dennis.
bet.
But
You
I
wanna
do
make
want
a
to
bet?
say,
Let's make a bet.
Brian,
I'll make a bet with you right now.
I take offense
Right
to
now.
the
Let's
slick
make a
hair
bet. No chance to
comment.
win.
But
No chance to
Socrates
win.
for $5 says, "How do you justify Renee Good driving her car towards an ICE agent? I thought assaulting cops is bad." These are older super chats. I'm just trying to get through them so these people don't feel left out.
Yep. So again, if we're going to go back to Renee Good, and you
just
look
go
at
back
the video,
quickly.
yeah. Well, if you want me to, I will. I don't have to if you don't want me
Well,
to. But
if you want to say something, just all I'm saying.
all right, well,
is-
go ahead to the next one.
Sure.
We touched
I
on
think
Renee
we
Good, but
touched on
Dennis,
it quite a bit post that.
Dennis, I
comment
will make a
anyways.
bet with you. I will make a $1,000 bet with you right now that you don't win.
$1,000.
Are you willing to do it right now?
For money, sure. I'll buy it. I'll buy it. You want to bet $1,000
That you don't win this seat?
that I don't win the seat?
Correct.
You realize
Deal.
there's a primary before that.
I understand that. Do you make the bet? Yes or no? Because I don't think you have a chance to win. I just don't think you're smart enough.
You think it comes down to being smart?
No, I think it also comes down to moral values and consistencies, and you have no chance in California to win because I can't find any independents that would support you. Would you like to make the $1,000 bet? You're welcome to disagree with me.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're already right off the bat. You're wrong because
Okay.
it's been
Make the
endorsed
bet.
by the American Independent Party. So
Great. So let's make the bet.
That's
Great.
already
Great.
already a
So
national.
So is it
party
a
that
bet?
Endorsed me. So
Make the bet. Yes or no? $1,000
the
right
bet.
now. So $1,000 that you win the seat.
All right, chat, you heard it.
Is that a bet? Yes or no?
I just said, you want me to keep
Okay,
repeating
great.
myself? Yes, I said.
Great.
Let's make the bet.
Okay.
I accept, Dennis. I accept PayPal, and by the way, that money will go to the Hillary Clinton Foundation.
Excellent. Someone's got to keep a running tally here of this information. I'm going to forget reading all these chats. I'm going to skip ahead for real quick, and then we'll go back because Red Fox is the #1 chatter right
Can I
now.
play
How do I get
this Charlie Kirk clip?
Oh, is that?
Oh,
yeah,
let's play. Let's play another.
Let's do that, and then I'll read
yeah,
this
let's
real
play
quick.
another Destiny. Let's play another Destiny clip.
Absolutely. So
Like shooting and everything is bad. It's bad. But like this is like for conservatives, this is like kind of fuck around and find out. This is what they want. Remember, you're like deploying the National Guard to places. You're sending the Marines around. You're talking about us, go to war with people. Like this is kind of this is what we're kind of gearing up for. So I mean, you can't really be surprised when this is the kind of shit that's happening, right? Like when politicians are getting killed, when people are, acting fucking unhinged and insane, and you're all feeding into this like crazy. Like, yeah, there's going to be deaths on both sides of it. That's how it works. This is how. This is how like a
Yep.
degenerating democracy appears. I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of stupid to act surprised on this.
Yeah. So let me respond to that.
You think Charlie
Can I
Kirk's
respond?
death was fuck around and find out?
Would you like me to respond to the clip? Because I was just about to. So first of all, the first comments that he made was, "This is bad." I think we all could agree on that. Yes, what happened to Charlie Kirk was bad. This is bad. He's referring to the heated political climate. As you know, it's happened on the right and the left. There were Democrats in Minnesota, a couple elected official that was killed by a Republican, just as equally as bad. They were both murdered. I think when things are heated, the political climate, it needs to cool down a little bit. I completely agree with that statement. Unfortunately, I think in certain situations, there are certain politicians that are not capable of lowering the temperature. He called it out and said it was bad. And he said we shouldn't be surprised. And I'm going to be honest with you. While it was horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that we've had political violence. I wish it didn't happen on either side of the aisle. But I agree with him. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised. We need to lower the temperature on both sides. And we need to be able to call out political violence on both sides. I don't think anything that Destiny said in that statement was not factually accurate.
So you think it was fuck around and find out?
I think in certain situations when you endorse violence, okay, which Donald Trump has done, he's done it at his rallies before. I think when people make that as a norm, and I'm not just talking about everyday people, I'm talking about the president of the United States. I'd like to rough that guy up. I'll pay his legal fees. When you have any politician that talks like that and endorses violence, it's very bad for the country. It's very bad for the
want
country.
to see killed, since you don't like this rhetoric.
When did I say I wanted people killed?
I mean, you're saying that fuck around and find out is justifiable. So who else do you want to see killed?
When did I say I wanted somebody?
You're saying when there's a politician going around with this kind of rhetoric that
No, I said it's not surprise.
What
I didn't. Okay, so first of all, this is what I call you a clown, because as you know, I don't endorse and I don't want anybody to die. What I've said was it's not. No, Dennis.
Fuck around and find out. You're endorsing
Dennis, what I endorsed was
violence.
Dennis,
drawing straws.
What's the point? What's the
Okay,
point?
yeah, I'm gonna get to the next.
Dennis, you're just a fucking clown. You're acting like a clown, Dennis. Yeah, you're a fucking clown. Thank you for the $1,000.
Look,
I'm endorsing. I'm
interested
violence.
to see how that bet turns out.
Did you just say
honestly.
that? He just said, "Yeah, I'm interested too. I can't wait." We'll see if he's going to pay me or if he's a
What
scumbag.
I'm not interested in here, but I do have to read it since it's my job. Captain Planet for $10 says, "Brian, show us your pencil arms."
Show us your pencil arms. Okay, that's interesting. Dennis, where should I spend your $1,000? Where should I go?
Okay.
How about a hair transplant?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Basil Problem for $5 says,
No, thank you.
Def Noodles, what community college did you get your GED from? It was bound to happen. Bound to happen. You're going to catch some strays here.
Yeah.
From Basil specifically.
I don't know. You name it. I'll go and get it.
He's unbiased in his insults. All right. We got FBN18PP for another $10. Thank you, sir. I think that, yeah, you're killing it with the super chats. Appreciate your support. He said,
I guess I'm like Donald Trump. I'm a.
Well, Brian, this one's directed at you. Brian Shapiro comes off dishonest and spineless. He hides behind labels to dehumanize people and justify whatever gets thrown at them instead of debating honestly. And before you
give me an
respond,
example.
Before you respond, he did send a $5 immediately after, and he said, "So if Brian Shapiro knows how damaging and detrimental false allegations and slander can be, why does he use it?" So thank you, FB.
Which false allegations did I share? Please be specific.
I think that was in relation to.
Yeah, notice how they're never specific when they call me a liar or they call me this or that. Please, in your comments, I would respectfully ask some of your very stupid listeners if they could be specific when they claim I'm a liar. Anybody can call somebody a liar or call somebody a hypocrite. I try to give specific examples of that. I don't mind if people call me those things. I don't care if they call me anything. Just give me an example.
Yeah,
Is that
guys,
unfair?
send more money, but be specific, please. Okay, real quick. Sentinel.
Dennis, I'll tell you what,
Asaya.
Dennis, if I win $1,000, I'll take Dennis to dinner at McDonald's. Okay, Dennis, do you accept?
Yeah, inflation's
you're
crazy,
that
bro.
broke
You're gonna
that you
get a
have to
Happy Meal for
save-
that.
You're that broke that you have to save $1,990 to take me to.
No, I just don't think the dinner would be worth more than $8. That's all. But I can take you to Taco Bell if you'd like.
And $8 doesn't get you much these days.
That money
Brian.
would be better spent on your head. I heard that they have cheap treatments out in Turkey.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, unlike some people, I'm not a phony. I am who I am. I don't have the plastic surgery that Melania Trump has. So,
Hey,
I am.
We're getting a little hair transplant.
Well,
You
Donald
wanna-
Trump's
you
had
wanna
5 of them.
Let's take a quick
Why
ride
not?
on the Turkish hairline.
Hey, listen. Dennis voted for the guy who wakes up in the morning and puts on 8 layers of orange makeup, who has 5 hair transplants, fake teeth, and a fake tan. So, Dennis, I guess you would vote for me if I had a hair transplant, right?
Hey, I'm just trying to get you to looks, Max. Okay, I'm trying to have a debate where you can actually go and mog on people. Okay.
Hey, man, I know that you have a fetish for me, and you probably are going to think about me with hair.
God, why do you have to make everything sexual, brother? I don't want to.
Why do you have to make?
I don't want to fuck you. I'm looking out for you. Okay.
Why do you have to make everything about male?
Friend.
Why do you have to?
Friends in your life that they don't care for you?
Yeah, we're not friends, Dennis. With all due respect.
No,
Number
I'm
2,
don't
get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Dennis. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Dennis.
All right, you don't got to respond to this one. I just got to read it real quick. Capital Science for $2 says, Brian, you can't do philosophy by avoiding philosophy. And then Basil Problem right after sends another $5. Thanks, Basil. You're a troll, but you do support the channel. I appreciate it. He said, Brian, I kind of liked you until you praised Tim Pool and his audience. You're a grifter.
I didn't. Where did I praise Tim Pool's audience? Did I do that? No, I think people that are Tim Pool fans, or most of them, are clowns. I never. See, this is everybody that makes these comments. They're not factual or they're not specific. That was not true. I've spent personal time with Tim Pool, and I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't agree with him on a lot of things that he said, but I stand by what I said. I'm not here to appease everybody, unlike some other people.
Well, this is related to appeasing people, since you kind of talked about it, but I'm going to just read it since he sent, I think, this 2 different times. Alexander Medeiros, $5. You already ran from a debate on Ice with me, but I would gladly school you on both the Renee Good and Alex Pretty situation anytime. So, like I said, we can set that up.
He's welcome to call in anytime. I don't know who this guy is.
There is a comment in about 2 super chats that's related to you saying call in. So 1 second. Korea Zillis for $5 says, what do you call a bald person? Whatever you want. They can't hair you.
Very funny. It's a great joke.
Here's the call-in thing from FBNW8PP, big supporter tonight. $10. He says, calling into Brian's show isn't a real option. He'll mute you, filibuster the conversation, then slap labels like racist or fascist on you to discredit
not
you.
True.
Not everyone can afford to take that risk.
So again, if you go on my YouTube page, you'll see 15-minute conversations I've had with MAGA supporters that I disagree with. If you go on my YouTube page, you will literally see thousands of phone calls that I've taken from some of the dumbest people I've ever spoke to in my life. And literally the phone calls have lasted 10, 15, even 20 minutes. So obviously anybody who makes a statement like that is a coward, and it's their excuse for not calling in. You can go on my YouTube page right now, which is @PTL Radio Show, and you could see a plethora of calls that I take literally every day. Every day I take calls.
Javi 8129 for $2 says, Brian and Jake should have a boxing match, lol. That was about the time that you were talking about that. And then he sent another $10. So thank you, Hobby. He said Simmons not being attracted to women doesn't make him a homosexual. He could very well be asexual. By the way, you should challenge Jake to a boxing match.
These people have fetishes. It's really something special.
Guys, I'm very special. Jump off in a few minutes, but this has been a lot of fun. I can probably stay a couple more minutes, but
all right, yeah, give us a little bit of time. We're gonna get through these real quick.
Dennis, listen, I'm gonna be Can I just be genuine with Dennis since he's going in a couple minutes? God, my
do it when he's leaving, so I can get through these.
Fair enough. I was gonna try to say something nice. Dennis, it's not my fault. He stopped me.
That's okay.
Okay.
We'll bring it back. Hopefully you don't get
Hopefully you can
rage
hold
baited
it for
before then.
niceness for 2 minutes.
Yeah, we got some comments that might rage bait him, so we'll see. Hopefully Brian stays to get through those because it's funny.
I'm not dodging any
It's hilarious.
comments, man. I'm having a good time. You think this bothers me? I welcome it.
All right,
I love it. I
Rockslinger
love
1
this
for
stuff.
$5 says, "Who butchered Shapiro's eyebrows?" All right,
I've never nothing like another man talking about another man's eyebrows. That's
Corbin Ballard for
very
10
normal.
bucks. Thank you, Corbin, for 10 says, "Thought Deaf Noodles did bad this debate, but Shapiro is still a total idiot." Sorry, Dennis.
Hey, I guess we both get a non-passing grade.
Yep.
So I'm still an idiot, but he's disappointed with your debate performance. So I guess so.
Craftsman-
I guess
Craftsman
We can't win
Ethos
everyone.
sent another 10 bucks. Craftsman, we thank you for your support. He said, "Brian, you seem to be an expert on Renee Good. What is throttle response? Which transmission and motor was her car? And what is the response time to the power steering unit in her car?"
yeah, that's why we needed an independent investigation, which, by the way, me and Dennis, I think, agreed on, and we've talked about that. But obviously, this
All right.
person who made the donation doesn't seem to comprehend English.
Yep, we'll leave it there. Okay, I already read these Red Fox ones. Javi 8129.
By the way, I was just going to say, I think that guy would probably want to motorboat the president. Go
Clip
ahead.
it.
I'm sorry.
Clip it and ship it. All right, Javi 8129 for 10 bucks says, "Is it true that you said you wanted to see Rob Norris mushroom nether regions?"
No, this is actually very funny. So
$10.
the clip that you are referring to, I said, when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob? And there are people on social media that obsess with me. Dennis, I'm not making this up, pal. There are people that they literally just dedicate their entire podcast to me. I'm not that important. Okay. They're obsessed with me. And they're claiming that I said, "Rob, show me your penis," which I didn't say. I said, "When was the last time you saw your penis?" And the reason why I said that, because Rob is very overweight, and I don't think he's seen his own penis in a very long time. So I hope I cleared that up for the listeners.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
a very
Brian,
important
I don't
topic.
understand why does it always go back to somebody's penis with you?
That would be wild if he
in
did
this-
say that.
Sure. So sometimes when I insult MAGA supporters, I claim that they have something called Trump fellatio syndrome, because when people call, I'm sure you've used the term Trump derangement syndrome. I think a lot of people are homophobic, actually. And I've used that same term on men and women because it insults them, and it seems to work. I did that with Jack Posobiec on Piers Morgan. I did that with Roger Stone. And it's interesting, Dennis, because after I say that, they stop saying I have Trump derangement syndrome. So it seems to work. MAGA Republicans don't seem to like those kinds of jokes when I push back at them. So it seems to be very effective, Dennis. So that's why I do it. And clearly it bothers
to me,
you.
It just seems like you're just obsessed with other people's penises, specifically
Yeah,
the
that's-
president's penis. Because
that-
if you're thinking about
yeah.
this all the time,
That must
I
be
mean,
what
you
it
even
is.
described your
Yeah.
debate with Rachel Wilson as you putting your penis into a meat grinder, which is honestly disgusting. A
That's
disgusting
ter-
image.
yeah,
to put
it
out
was
there.
Terrible
Yeah, it
imagery.
was a-
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and stop it there real quick before we say it one more time. I do have to give respect to former senior airman Andrew Thrasher for another 20. Thank you, sir. Dennis, understand that you have just met the real Brian Shapiro. He is a
That's true.
spineless snake and will try to use his ignorance against you. He loses every time, but continues this endless
Yeah.
spurg. Brian, you always lose.
Very
Just
credible.
stop. Well,
Very
He
credible.
was a former
So
senior airman.
here's what I would ask of this guy. Please continue to go on social media, watch my videos, tell me how much I lose to people. Thank you for the engagement, because you're clearly too stupid to understand you're actually helping me and making me money. So please keep telling everybody I lose in every debate. I love it. Keep it up.
Quick response, Dennis, or can I move on?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What's he gonna say to that?
Comment.
What's he gonna say to that?
Hold the microphone. All right, now this one's super important from for real M Pumpkin for $5. He said, "What is a better deal? A 14-inch pizza for $15 or two 7-inch pizzas for $10?"
Dennis can answer that one.
Wait, say that math again.
What is a better deal? A 14-inch pizza for $15 or two 7-inch pizzas for $10? It's pretty easy. I don't even like pizza.
You don't like pizza?
It depends on how much you want to eat.
I used to be a really fat kid, so just kind of averse to all that now.
So you used to look like Rob Doar and Andrew Wilson. I'm glad you're in shape now.
I was not a middle-aged man when I was younger, Brian.
That's true. That's true. Good point.
Wait,
Anyways,
you're not Benjamin Button. You're not.
Hopefully, I just turn into DiCaprio or whoever played that.
Andrew Wilson looks like the brother of I don't know. I was gonna say, what's Rosie O'Donnell? Is that who I was thinking of? Yeah, I mean Rosie O'Donnell is like a Andrew Wilson lookalike. By the way, Dennis. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
we're almost through these, I believe. I hope. $9.99 from Red Fox. Thank you, Red Fox. Big super chatter tonight. Brain. Why is everyone calling you Brain, or can they just not spell Brian?
Because a lot of the listeners aren't smart enough to spell.
I mean, since you want to defend Donald Trump on everything, what do you think about Israel?
Have I defended Donald Trump on everything?
I don't know.
What did he just say?
I think they're
Dennis.
just calling you.
I think they're trying to rage bait you, bro.
They're just
Dennis-
rage baiting you, yeah.
Dennis, am I a Donald Trump defender?
Yeah, why do you support
I
him
think
so
at this
much,
point
Brian?
They're just trying to rage bait you. Don't fall for the rage bait.
Here's some more rage bait for $5 from Kevin De Lavaria, 7999. Everybody go check out Brian's combo with Gary the Numbers Guy. He really loses his shit. Lol.
Yeah, the reason why this is really important. So if I have 30 seconds here.
Yeah.
So that was right at AmFest, Dennis, right after the Rob Reiner comments, that Trump made, which Dennis and I believe agree on.
Yeah.
And the guy that I was debating, I've never even heard of this guy before. He's called the Numbers Guy. He's some clown that's one of, I don't know, Andrew
Gematria.
Gaines. Yeah. So he
That's
made the case
I
that,
believe he's Myron's manager.
yeah, I don't, yeah, well, that says a lot. Anyway, he made the case that it was Rob Reiner's fault that his own son murdered him and his wife. And that set me off because, my sister passed away at the young age of 37 from an accidental overdose. And I can tell you, I have the best parents in the world, and they did everything to try to help her. She suffered from pain pills. And when this guy said that it's the parents' fault, which is obviously an ignorant and reprehensible thing to say, that's the only debate I've ever done where it only lasted 5 minutes. And I was ready to knock him out. So that was the end of the conversation there. And reprehensible comments. There are, as you know, drug addiction, it's an addiction. And you could have great loving parents, and that still doesn't mean that it's the parents' fault. I think we all hopefully could agree on that. So that's why that guy's
Agreed.
not even.
Let's,
Well,
This
I'm
guy's not
sorry
even
to
worth
hear
it.
that. I'm really, truly
Thank you.
sorry to hear about your
Thank
sister.
you.
My condolences.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But that said, I do think that in the interest of debating, and you're a debater, you did relatively good here. You had some good points, but I think that it would be best to just leave your emotions aside, because clearly he was trying to rage bait
No.
you. He was.
Well,
he-
Dennis,
Nope.
I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. I agree with you. And my good friend Sean, it was his podcast. But when you go after, the loss of a family member, and you make statements like that, I don't take kind to that. We can call each other names, but listen, you can call me retarded, Dennis. And the truth of it, I'm not offended by anything you said. I'm sure you're not offended by anything I said, because we haven't gone over the line, right? So Dennis, there's a line that I think we can agree that you should never cross, right?
Yeah, Chelsea
and
Labubu crossed the
that's my
line
point.
saying I look like clavicular. I don't hit myself with a hammer, and I'm not seasoned out for clout.
You
By
don't
the
do
way,
that?
Tim Pool.
No.
Looks back?
Tim Pool. By the way, Dennis, Tim Pool called me retarded, and then we had a lot of laughs, and we joked around about it afterwards.
He
Name
used
calling
the
doesn't
R
bother me at
word.
all.
He
He
used
did,
the
and then
R
we-
word.
And then we put out a video together, and he said, by the way, Brian Shapiro's not retarded. That was rhetorical, and I think he's a smart guy. No, but I don't listen. In the heat of passion, Dennis, it's my shtick, right? If I see somebody, and I'm being honest here, if I see somebody wearing a MAGA hat down the street, could be you, could be anybody. Am I going to go up to you and call you names? No, of course not. If somebody calls into my show and I think they say something stupid, I can be very aggressive at times. It's what certain shows want. It's what Pierce Morgan wants in other shows that I've done recently. But there's a time and a place for it. You certainly shouldn't go after someone's family. You shouldn't go after people that are dead. And I think that's there's a line that just you shouldn't cross, and that guy crossed that line.
Yeah,
That's all.
Addiction's not cool. I've lost so many friends over around the country.
Sorry to hear that.
Including my ex-business
horrible.
partner. It's really
Terrible.
just terrible.
Yeah.
People got to get help, and it's hard to change
Yep.
them if they won't change
Agree.
themselves. But something I can't change is that Sean Atchison sent another $2 saying Brian won't have much more to bet after he loses 50K.
Yeah, so that's funny. I hate to break it to this guy. He's referring to a fight that I agreed to with Andrew Wilson, and Andrew Wilson sent me a message.
Does that happen?
And I Yeah, I would like to do it. Andrew
All
Wilson sent
right.
me a message and said he didn't want to fight me a day after, and he said I'm too old for it. I actually put that on social media. So I told him I would put up 50K. He would put up 50K winner take all. He's not going to do it. Andrew Wilson's not a serious guy. If he wants to do it, I'll do it. But I'll tell you what, we might have our own boxing match in North Carolina because I told him if he's going to say the stuff to my face that he said on social media, then we might have an issue in
Well,
North Carolina.
Let's
So,
just make sure Sean from Uncensored America is there with his high quality cameras, because
Sean,
we
me
did
and Sean
find
have
the infinite content glitch here tonight, guys. I do want to read this
Sean.
after. Go ahead.
Sean's
go
a
ahead.
good
go
guy.
ahead. Yeah, no, Sean's
No, I was
awesome.
just going to say Sean's a good guy. He's helped put that debate together, and I'm happy to do it and be professional about it.
Shout out, Sean.
If Rachel Wilson doesn't get personal with me, I'm not going to get personal with her.
Yeah,
You
Sean.
know, so
Sean, Sean's our video guy for MDD.
oh, good,
The lives.
sweet.
So, anyways, Flavius sent another 20. I got to read that real quick. Flavius, thank you very much. I see you all over the place.
You're making bank, bro. You're making bank on this debate.
Holy cannoli, dude.
Brian, why do you associate Destiny and UFAT when he has an active case of SA against him and then spouts that type of rhetoric? Do you have no sense of morality? Is money all you care about? Sounds materialistic. Maybe that's
So first of all, again, somebody that has no idea what they're talking about. I'm not getting paid to be a part of the Unfuck America tour. They're not paying me to do anything. In
Thanks
fact,
for
in some
clarifying
cases,
what that stood for.
Yeah,
I
so-
did not catch that.
Yeah. So I'm not getting paid to do any of that stuff. Sometimes I get paid to do debates and stuff. I'm not getting paid to be a part of there. Number one. Number two, in that specific situation, where, by the way, he hasn't found guilty, he hasn't been criminally charged, and he hasn't even been found liable. And my understanding is it was for sexual harassment that he was alleged to have committed sexual harassment. My understanding that rape is not on the table either. So again, somebody who has no idea what they're talking about. I've never been paid to do the UNF America tour. I've never asked for money to do the UNF American tour. In fact, in some situations, I'm paying my own way to go to these events, which I'm going to UC Berkeley in a couple weeks.
All right, UC Berkeley. Pseudonym 8344 for $2 says Brian looks like the kid that never got punched.
Actually, that's not true. I was in a couple fights in high school. I got suspended for 2 weeks for getting into a physical altercation when I was in high school. But I did win that fight, by the way. I did win that fight. But yeah, I've been in some physical altercations in my life. I'm not proud of it. A few at the poker table. I play a lot of poker. This was years ago. But if you want to talk about somebody that's never been in a physical altercation in their life, you should probably look at the orange turd, Donald Trump.
Dennis, I thought he was going to at you for a second.
No.
Dennis looks like he's gotten into some scraps. Is that true, Dennis?
I think Dennis has probably been in a few fights here.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
more of a
assume,
lover than a fighter, but yeah, I mean, I grew up in Brazil.
It happens.
Oh man, I was gonna say when Brian wins that $1,000, he should at least take you to Fogo de Chao. And I was like, I don't know if that would be like considered like stereotyping because he looks Brazilian.
Dennis, I will invite you.
That restaurant.
Dennis, you could
$1,000 in one sitting.
Yep.
Dennis, I have an invitation for you. We are going to be at UC Berkeley. I know that's a little far for you. Gavin Newsom is allegedly going to be showing up at our event. I believe Destiny will be there as well, so you could address this stuff with him yourself.
Yeah.
I know you're one that doesn't shy away from debates, so you should come by, man. You should come by.
Well, send me. We'll exchange information offline.
Okay.
Afterwards. I'm banned on X.
Fair
So
enough.
maybe on Instagram.
What?
How do you do that?
What? How are
I've
you
been
banned on
for
X?
4 years.
You can say anything on there and not get banned.
I've been banned for 4.5 years. I know people who work at X and they've tried to run it up the chain. It's been a mystery why I'm banned
You
and why I
can't
stay
start
banned.
a new account or
They get banned within like an hour or so. So
That's
I don't know
wild.
what.
It's really hard to get banned on X. Really hard.
Trust me, I know. But we'll figure out. We'll get in touch. And
Okay.
I'd love to make it out there.
It's much easier
April
to get banned on
22nd.
YouTube for sure.
April 22nd.
I think I'm gonna catch a Giants game when I'm out there. But
when
yeah.
is that election, Dennis?
June 2nd is the primary, and then I think November 7th is the election end of the year.
Oh, okay.
So
we'll
it's
know
very,
in November whether or not Brian wins $1,000.
well, we can know June 2nd.
Okay,
We can know
so,
June
so
2nd.
it's that
We
quick.
could
I
know
give-
June 2nd.
I
Yes, if
gotta
don't make
say
it past
this.
the primary, but I will.
I'll give Dennis credit. He's putting his money where his mouth is. It's very ballsy of him. to make that bet with me. So I do appreciate that. You got to get here. I think it's a win-win. This is the nice thing that I was going to say about you, Dennis.
Go
If
ahead.
you win, I will congratulate you. I'll be a man about it. I'll wish you the best of luck, and I will gladly pay you $1,000. If you lose, I'm not going to necessarily say I'm going to be happy for you, but I will be happy that I won $1,000. Is that fair?
The reason why I wanted to circle back.
Well, we can agree on that, I guess.
Okay, good.
I wanted to
good.
circle back on that because Dirk Diggler, 1961, sent $20. Thank you, Dirk. Dirk, he said, Brian, what will you spend the $1,000 on? Another pimp coat?
No, a night with Melania Trump.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
that cheap, you're saying, huh?
Well, it cost Donald Trump $130,000 to spend 18 seconds with Stormy Daniels, so I don't think I could afford her. But Melania, maybe I could afford. I don't know.
We're 13
Perhaps.
seconds. Where'd you? Is it? Is that you have
That's
evidence?
according to Storm. According to Storm. Well,
Oh,
Stormy.
okay.
That's
Oh,
alleged.
yeah, I don't keep
Yeah,
up
Stormy.
with that specific lore.
Yeah, I know, Brian. You know a little bit too many sexual details about everything. It's
Yeah. I don't know anything about you sexually, and I don't want to know, quite frankly.
Holy
thank God
heck!
for that. I'm not revealing
Yeah.
any of that right now.
Yeah.
Holy
Okay,
hex
good,
for
good.
$5 says Brian.
Other than he loves bald men, it appears.
Who,
But,
me?
other than that- I'm
Why?
just kidding. Go
Why
ahead.
do you love bald men?
Go
Dennis? Holy
ahead.
hex for
It was just a joke.
$5. He says, Brian, you're a liar. Everyone knows you're a Democrat. Come out already. I don't know if the come out is in relation to Democrat or.
So Dennis, let me ask Dennis a question because I'd like to say I respect his answer a lot more than that idiot who just made that statement. Dennis, what would you say about somebody who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, didn't vote for Barack Obama, voted for 8 Republicans in the last midterms, believes in border security, believes in capital punishment? Would you call that person a Democrat or a liberal?
Are you talking about yourself?
I'm just saying in general. In general.
In general?
Yeah.
I mean, look, as far as voting Republican, I don't think that actually defines you as a conservative anymore. There are a lot of people in the Republican establishment that are very much liberal. So
I don't disagree.
I don't voting for.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying I supported John McCain. I supported Mitt Romney. I think if you're a decent human
Mitt
being,
Romney's
you can.
kind of a liberal, to be honest with you.
Well, he definitely votes 99% with the far right on a lot of different issues. But I will say this:
he created universal health care in his state. So
I understand, but he has a lot of far right. Same thing with Liz Cheney. I mean, he voted with Liz Cheney on just about everything. Here's what I'll say: I can disagree with somebody on policy 80, 90% of the time, but I'm still capable of voting for them if I think they're a decent human being. Okay. I didn't personally like Hillary Clinton. That's why I didn't vote for her. If I think someone is a decent human being, I'm capable of voting for them, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. And I've been a registered independent my whole life. I certainly lean to the left on social issues, but I don't agree with Democrats on every social issue. For example, Andrew Wilson tried to pin me on this. I don't think transgender women should compete with women on the playing field. I was asked that on Piers Morgan. I completely disagree with a lot of Democrats on that topic. So it's not like I agree with Democrats on every social issue, and it's not that I agree.
It sounds like you vote on principle and policy, which is where most Americans are at, to be honest with you. Statistically, if you look at the most recent data, there are more Americans that are registering as no party preference or independence or is not part of the the political binary than ever before in the history of the country. In fact,
that's certainly
the largest party in California right now is no party preference.
Danny, Danny 6B 6PG said Brian is undercover mega.
That's funny. That's funny. I do have a MAGA hat somewhere that I wore at the Turning Point headquarters to kind of lure them to come out, which worked. I did play a MAGA. I can play a MAGA very well. Usually you have 3 teeth and you're having relations with your cousin. I'm sure that'll offend many of your listeners.
Well, hopefully they're so offended that the 360 something people that are watching right now go get your tickets for DebateCon 8 so you can get a little bit of that out through watching the debates. I'm sure you will find someone who represents your worldview no matter what side you're on. We actually we do have a lot of different types of people. It's just, you attract the opposite audience sometimes when they want to roast.
For sure. That's for sure.
Speaking of roasting, BS Man 617 sent $2. Said Brian the privileged capo without camp walls. I don't know what that's.
Yeah, I don't really understand that.
Truth,
only $2. That's really cheap.
Pathetic. Send more. Truth Revolt TV
$2.
sent $5. Brian, how does it feel knowing that everyone on the left and right don't respect you and make fun of you all the time?
Well, here's what I'll say to that. People dedicate shows to me and they pay me to debate around the country. I'm going all over the country the next 2 months debating people. So if they certainly don't respect me, I would wonder why they pay my airfare, pay my hotels, pay for me to debate people. I wonder why CNN, Fox News, Pierce Morgan, and all these shows on a regular basis have me on. I'd like to think that they have me on because and I will say this, there's not a lot of people that lean to the left that are willing to do these types of things. So yeah, I will pat myself on the back for that. There's not a lot of people on the left
Brian
that are willing
does
to do
have a
this.
point that there are a lot of people on the left that are just unwilling to engage in this sort of debate. So I do respect you for doing this.
Thank you.
Primarily people on the right that want to go into these sort of hostile, and not that this was a hostile environment, but typically people on the right are more willing to go into hostile environments and debate people.
Yeah, I don't
that disagree
disagree.
with them.
I don't listen,
well,
Dennis.
this-
I agree. Can I just make one quick point here? And I agree with what
then
Dennis said.
I got a positive one for you that I got to read.
Sure. So Dennis, I agree with you, and thank you for saying that. I think more people on the right should go on CNN. I think more people on the left should go on Fox News. I think I respect Pete Buttigieg for at least doing that. He goes on Fox News a lot. I think it's good to have more of these conversations. And by the way, if it's talking about disrespectful debates, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, I would give this a 1. Dennis, I've been in some really bad ones, so this does not rise even close to that level. So that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Rob Skywalker 09 sent $10. He said, Brian won this debate. These sucker chatters have no credibility. They will never call in. Brian, you won the debate. And probably the only person to ever defeat Andrew Wilson in a debate.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm going to say this. I don't care whether people think I won or lost a debate. Dennis, as I said before, if I go on a conservative show, every conservative will say I got destroyed. Everybody who's a fan of mine or on the left will say I won. So that's why I don't care what people think when they talk about winning or losing debates. And I'm not even going to make that statement here. But do you know what person? I'm going to go back to this idiot. Not you, Dennis. Every single time Andrew Wilson does a debate, before the debate ends, I destroyed you. I beat you. If you're a really insecure person, you're going to make statements like that and say you destroyed somebody or owned somebody. I don't get obsessed in that stuff. If you're on the right, you're going to say the person on the right one. If you're on the left, you're going to say the person on the left one. While I appreciate that statement, I don't obsess on winning or losing debates. I just state my opinions. I tell people how I feel. People can like it or don't like it. I don't care. That's just who I am. And I don't get obsessed with the winning and losing part of the debate thing, if that makes sense.
Guys, I do have to jump off, and I have something else here that I gotta.
It's been a pleasure, Dennis. I appreciate you staying the extra time.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much, Brian. It was great talking to you.
Good talking to you too.
Modern Day Debate. Thank you, James, for having me.
Yeah.
Brian, I want to follow up. I do actually want to go out to Berkeley. If you were
and Dennis, I'm being genuine when I say I don't think you're a bad guy. Obviously, we disagree on some things, and we agree on a lot of things too. I don't think you're a bad guy. Things get heated. I thought it was an entertaining conversation. You're welcome to do my show anytime you want. We'll exchange information, and I'm happy to do it again with you.
He won't call in. He won't call in.
I'll call in. You'll hear me in the phone call.
This debate, Dennis, is going to cost one of us $1,000. So we'll see.
Well, I hope you're ready to pay up.
Not me.
I am.
All right.
I wish you luck.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Take
so much.
it easy, Dennis. All right. It's
Thanks,
gonna
Dennis.
mess up the.
Take care.
Mike, if you want to do it, thanks, Dennis. If you want to do a few more,
yeah, let me
super
just
chats.
bust through these real quick. I gotta fix the thing.
No problem. No problem.
Sorry, when someone leaves, it's gonna mess this up. But yeah, we'll just bust through these real quick, short responses, and then we'll just go ahead and close it out for the night. I appreciate you staying extra.
Yeah, no problem.
Whoops.
Can I ask you a question, if you don't mind? Are you monetized on Facebook?
This is not my channel, sir.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, real quick. Let's get serious here. Only because I'm being asked to, and I don't know exactly what he was referring to. So I do want, maybe if you do, you could address it. Red Fox 11 sent $20, and he said, Mike, I know we are having fun here, but you can't let Brian make a veiled threat against the Wilsons when they have active threats. He needs to walk that back.
Yeah. Never made a threat. I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Never made a threat. I challenged him to a boxing fight, some sort of organized boxing fight that we both agree on. I never made any threats towards him, so that's blatantly ridiculous.
Well, that is on the record that I asked it, and the opportunity was there if there was one that I missed. So I appreciate you addressing it. I would like to get through these real quick. Rockslinger1 sent $10. He said, "Who butchered Shapiro's eyebrows? Are they drawn on in a hurry or what?"
They seem to be obsessed with my physical appearance. Very interesting. And my eyebrows. I don't know. I've never heard anybody. I've heard people talk about a lot of body parts. I've never heard anybody talk about my eyebrows so much. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think I thought maybe they were talking about Ben Shapiro, since there was
Ben's
a
got some
meme
very
going
thick-
around.
Ben's got some very thick eyebrows. That's for sure.
Well, you're clearly not Ben, so we gotta set the record straight. BS Man
That's true.
617 said, and this is I think in relation to the you getting punched conversation earlier. He said for $2, definitely lost the fight and got a swirly. People still
yeah,
give
really-
swirlies. We got to bring swirlies back. I'm joking.
Brings me back to high school, man. I remember a physical altercation I got in high school where I was 18 years old and a friend of mine passed away. And I remember, I'll share this personal story with you that I don't think I've ever said on the air before. The next day I found out that he had passed away in the morning announcements. And there was somebody in my class that said, "Good, he deserved to die. He was a loser." And I just lost it. You know, you have a few moments in your life where you just lose it. And you're in that moment, you're actually stronger than you think than you actually are because you're so enraged. I was just probably one of the most angry moments I've ever had in my life. And that was one of the altercations that I got into. I'm not much of a fighter, but there have been a few times in my life where I completely lost it. And that was one of them. Yeah, that was one of them.
So are you saying you gave the swirly?
Yes, I broke his nose, and it took a couple students to get me off of him. I was enraged. I don't think I've ever been that angry in my life. And it was interesting because a week later, he and his parents came over to my house, and my parents were freaking out. Like, I was going to get sued. They were going to sue us. Instead, I'll never forget this. He came over the house with his parents and he apologized to me. And I said, I shouldn't have done that either. I apologize also, but I thought that was really big of him and his parents to do that. And it ended quite well. And we became friends after that. So
yeah, sometimes you gotta fight your friends before they're friends. I respect the hell out of that. All right, we're almost through this, Brian. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. This has been a marathon of super chats. Awesome.
I bring the ratings, baby.
Yeah,
I bring the ratings.
You'll be back on if you want, man. Hopefully I get to host it. I love the challenge of people being highly contestable back and forth, which you guys did pretty good. I thought I was going to have to be muting left and right. And
nah, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad, but to be honest with you, I just stole $1,000. I don't know how he wins.
I hope you take him to Fogo de Chao to satiate the Brazilian. Let's see. We're almost done. Where is it? I lost the last one I was on. Okay. Socrates for $5 said, "Brian, you mentioned that Trump is a pedo at the No Kings rally twice. Is he? If so, where's the evidence?"
So, certainly a pedophile protector at a minimum, at a maximum a pedo. What we do know is that there were multiple credible allegations by young girls at the time that have accused him of such. Why it wasn't thoroughly investigated, we don't know, but we know it was investigated enough where at least one young woman was interviewed by the FBI. We know that in the files that have been released, there are still millions of files that have yet to be released. What is Donald Trump hiding from? Why does he call everybody stupid who talks about the Epstein files? Why is it that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel have protected him and Dan Bongino? Why is it that he doesn't want to talk about it? Because I think there's more that he's hiding. We also have a limousine driver who overheard him talking about abusing a young girl. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And I would also go to his history. This is a guy who's bragged about abusing women. This is a guy who talked about how he knew Jeffrey Epstein liked him young and still remained friends with him. This is one of his best friends for over 10 years. I also do find it ironic that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly took his own life under Donald Trump and his administration. And there's 2 minutes of a video that is gone in outside of his jail cell. So I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence and a lot of credible evidence. Now, if people want to say that Donald Trump never did anything criminally wrong to a young girl, okay. But at a minimum, he's protecting pedophiles, and that is irrefutable. It's you can't defend that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see. All right. So we got I'm not your buddy guy 9713 said had to step away. E. Jean Carroll is one case where you refuse to objectively look at. Same thing with the fraud against
What are
Trump.
you talking about? I'll talk about it till the cows come home. E. Jean Carroll.
But I'm not finished. I'm not finished.
Oh, okay,
Even the
sorry.
classified documents. Finally, I can only write so much here.
Okay. So first of all, I've had conversations with a lot of people about the E. Jean Carroll case. A jury of Donald Trump's peers found him liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. The judge characterized it as rape. The jury got more evidence than you or I have. What we do know, what was alleged, what was he found liable of is penetrating her. I have to be careful with my language, with his fingers in a dressing room. There are also witnesses that testified that said that they didn't witness what took place, but days after this incident, E. Jean Carroll told them what happened. A jury found him liable for sexual abuse. I'm happy to talk about that case and the 25 other women that have come forward that have claimed that he raped them allegedly before he ever put his name into public office. I'm happy to talk about his history. I'm happy to talk about his ex-wife who testified in a deposition that he raped her. So I haven't shied away from any of these cases. And Donald Trump's a really bad guy. Besides being a womanizer, I think he's a horrific human being. The way he's treated women his whole life is reprehensible. And I defend everything that I've ever said about Donald Trump, and I'll continue to.
All right.
And by the way, don't be a Trump mushroom gobbler. Not you, but in general, don't be a Trump mushroom gobbler and defend Donald Trump. It's really pathetic at this point, and it makes you guys look really bad. Really, really bad. By the way, where's the guy who said I lied? Where's the guy who went on there and said I was dishonest and I lied? Notice how they never come back with actual specifics of things that I've said. Hey, Brian the liar. Brian, you're a liar. Okay, that's fine. What did I lie about? I don't know, but you're a liar.
I'm trying
These
to
people are so
find
stupid.
that comment.
They're so dumb. I have to deal with these people all the time. Well, I don't really deal with them. I just ignore them. But in this specific situation, Brian, you're a liar. What did I lie about? I don't know, but you're a liar.
I believe it was a comment about 10 minutes ago. I said something and I apologize. I didn't know it was a slur. I've never heard that word before. I mean, it's not a common one, so I'm just not going to read his next comment, unfortunately. But yeah, I think we are through.
Wait, are you telling me that there are Donald Trump supporters out there that don't like me that are using slurs?
I guess
That's
so, I guess
shocking.
so.
I'm shocked.
It just
I'm shocked.
the comment didn't sound like in context, really. Like it didn't make any sense to me. So I thought it was referencing a music instrument tool, and I'm like, does Brian play music?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of people that I haven't debated before, that I've always wanted to debate but never had the opportunity, that maybe you guys could put together, people that are on the right. And I'm trying to think. I've debated Jack Posobiec. Obviously, I don't think Ben Shapiro would do it, but if Ben Shapiro wanted to, I would love to debate him. I'm trying to think. Tommy
here we
Lauren
go.
is another one.
I'm not your buddy guy 9713 said it was me that called you a liar.
Okay, so again, he's not being specific with why he called me a liar, because he's a dope. But keep donating your money, my friend. I'm sure he'll accept it, and I don't blame him. And you're a liar. What did you lie about? What did I lie about? I don't know, but you're a liar.
Okay,
These people are just.
I think I got them all. I think I got all the super chats here. Unless anyone wants. Oh, what? Okay. Polly Shortcuts says $2. Brian lied. Charlie Kirk was not the firefighter.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't think Charlie Kirk was ever said to be the firefighter.
Yeah, I never called Charlie Kirk a firefighter, but I do call that guy a fucktard. Who just made that statement. I will say that.
I'm not trying to rage bait you, BS man, by not reading that comment. I just don't. I didn't say it in a way that I think would get James's channel messed up, but it's not my channel, so I don't want to risk that specifically.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm shocked. I mean, I've never heard a Trump supporter use a slur before. That's really shocking to me.
I mean, he says he's Jewish, so I mean, I don't know if it's
Well, I don't care.
it's
Yeah, you probably
gonna get
probably,
through
probably,
the cracks
probably-
there.
probably shouldn't read it then. But Jews could also be anti-Semitic.
That's true.
Yep.
I'm not your buddy guy since another 2. He said, and I just gave you 3 examples of where you manipulate.
Do you recall one, Mike?
3 examples. Let me see.
He said, "Do you remember one?" Yeah, give me one example. By the way, the word wasn't manipulation. The word was lie.
Charlie was not the firefighter. I don't know if that's one of them.
Yeah, I don't think that's a. Yeah, I don't even know what that means. And by the way, manipulate and lie are 2 completely different things. You could manipulate something without lying. He called me a liar, so give me an example of where I lied.
Well, all the chat's saying it's not a slur, but I guess in the context of like a Irish or a Italian mafia, like I think that's it has an S on the end of it, but hey, man, I don't know what YouTube AI is gonna catch and not catch, so you guys can't can't be too down on me for trying to be safe when it's not my platform. I am allowed to be here. I'm grateful to be here. And I am going to say again to get your tickets for DebateCon 8 if you want to come meet me and James and come see a lot of great debaters.
Cool. Wow, we've been doing this for 4 hours. This is a long time.
Life in HD, you say it's technically not a slur, but I just looked it up and it says it's very contested. So anyways, yeah, no, I have not gone this long with any debate before, and there was a format that said 30 minutes Q&A, but there is no way y'all's responses were going to fit in 30 minutes. So I think it really does go through, like, the debaters' schedules, and sometimes James has a lot of things to do. So I appreciate everyone staying in the chat and hanging out for the extended time. I think we've not really dropped below, 300 until the last 30 minutes. I'm not your buddy guy 9713 for another $2 says, wow, read my name and go through history. Okay.
I think he's had a little bit too much to drink.
Let me see. I don't have StreamYards, which I think does a little better for that.
Oh, it's all good, man. I probably need to
just
wrap
say it.
this
Say
up.
it in a regular comment. You don't have to send a super chat. I can read your regular comment.
Yeah, it probably not worth it.
I don't have the Asmon Gold Twitch set up. And thank you, Yossi Rizzo. I appreciate that.
Holy shit, I got to get some dinner.
Yeah, I got.
Where are you located?
Waiting for
You're
me.
in California, right?
No, I'm in Texas. Okay,
Oh, shit.
Flavius, thank you, sir. 10 or $20. One last question, Brian. Should the right dissociate from Trump for his rhetoric? If so, why won't you dissociate from Destiny from his? For his.
Which rhetoric is he referring to? By the way, there's different standards for different people. We're talking about the president of the United States. I can't vote for Destiny. I wouldn't vote for somebody that uses the rhetoric that Donald Trump uses. What rhetoric has Destiny used, and what specifically did he say that you are talking about? So I don't know what he's referring to. And by the way, Destiny's not an elected official. I didn't vote for him.
I think that specifically rhetoric in terms of Destiny was from like the video that Dennis played.
So he said that, he said that what happened to Charlie Kirk was bad. I don't agree with the statement he made. He had it coming to him, or it was something along those lines. I don't remember the exact verbiage, which I've openly talked about. But then again, different standards for different people. Destiny is a podcaster who's not running for office. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Different standards for different people.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate everybody. And if that's it for the super chats, then I think we are done.
Sweet. All right, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Brian. A lot of people enjoyed the roast, anti-roast sesh here. You got some fans in the chat. You got some ops in the chat. So we appreciate everybody.
That's good.
This is what
That's
this
the way it goes.
platform's supposed to be for, is getting them all in the one spot and seeing what happens, whose ideology is going to battle out the other one and have a better argument, which is how it should be. I don't support the violence in the political sphere. Just put that out there as well. I think conversations like this have to happen. So thank you all.
Absolutely.
Very much.
All right.
And call into Brian's show.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Anybody's welcome to.
Y'all have a great night.
All right.